Hello everybody and welcome back to the B stream. We are here to bring you our second match of the day. We have got Spacestation and we have got Cruelty coming up here in just a few moments. We've already seen our first match of the day.
Yeah.
We've already seen Bleed versus CAG, but now it is time to get into our second. We have a bracket that is going to display quite nicely exactly everything that has been going on. The first game on the A stream was FearX versus GK, and that was a 2-0 for GK, so they advance through their bracket as well.
Yeah, so they're able to find themselves a bit further on. I think their maps were a little bit more intense, but obviously winner plays G2, loser plays Liquid, or vice versa. That game is actually still to happen. Hazeman is just reading them off in order. On the other side, we have the same thing. Bleed, they could be facing up against Cruelty or SSG. Otherwise, they'll be dropping down to the opposite spin, the opposite swing round. Now, I think we've probably got a little bit of an understanding of an underdog-overdog story here based on just history of these two teams. You
really don't have to be an expert to look at this bracket and to go, right, okay, what's coming up? Spacestation versus Cruelty. I might not have even heard of Cruelty. You know, if you've not been keen on the Brazilian scene, it might not be a team that you are entirely familiar with. Fear not, that's why we're here. We are going to bring you all of the information. Obviously, Spacestation is a roster that is a little bit more on the well-known side of things.
Yeah, well, I mean, just the org itself, they're one of only a few that's been at pretty much every single major. They've missed one major event since Berlin back in the day. They have been very consistent. The new sort of blood, they've had great fights at the most recent, and obviously you look at that team on the right-hand side, Ollie, if you squint a little and cover the top, you could sort of see it's best Australis. It's the build of that old team. Same coach, same sort of driving force, and that was such a fun team to watch come together. They fell out of favor, but with Iconic joining this roster, it's the rebuild, baby.
I was covering half of the players' heads.
No, you just cover where it says Space Station.
Yeah,
Gaming.
well, that's clear to me now, but I was trying to cover half of the players' heads.
No.
And I was like, what? Like, what are we getting at here? But yeah, exactly. You've got a little bit of that Astralis flair in there. Obviously, you've got some OG Space Station in there in Fultz, and they are really looking to try and make something happen. And for my money, they've been a team that have been pretty consistent throughout the course of the NAL this stage. Yes, they didn't
we know where we're going.
Yes, they didn't get the greatest finish. Maybe a bit of a spoiler alert there. They didn't get the greatest finish inside of the NAL, but when you look and you dig down into a lot of their games, they were very close games. It wasn't a case of, you know, they were getting blown out. There were a lot of 7-5s thrown in there, and then it just brings into question, is this Iconic change just taking a little bit of time to mesh? But obviously they got themselves at the major, so they're in the best place.
I think that's the thing, and obviously talking about SSG and Iconic's role as well, he is a very defining player. He's a player that when he burst onto the scene, it both doesn't feel very long ago because of the sort of COVID tournaments that we happened, but he did a huge amount within that time frame, within that sort of growth towards it. It is a player that will change and define a roster. He was obviously part of the M80 project that didn't quite come together recently, and it's a super team building here where it's back with guns he's familiar with, back with sort of friends he's played with for a long time back in the day. I think as soon as they start to find that flair, once again, we'll start to see a terrifying new force towards the forefront of North American siege. Now, obviously, who you're up against as well, it's Cruelty, a team that you would understand not knowing much about them. It's their first ever international appearance for, I think, all of them.
Yep, no one has got any international experience prior to this. Typically, they have played inside of the LATAM League. Obviously, before that, before the amalgamation of the LATAM League, there was different subdivisions of that. There was the Sudamericano, there was the Camp de... I used to be able to remember all these, but they've just faded from memory over the years. Ultimately, this is a really big showing for a lot of these players. It's going to be one of their first times playing in a LAN environment. Obviously, there is a lot of LAN inside of Brazil and LATAM regions. They do tend to do that with the player houses and things. I'm not entirely sure on these guys' setup. However, this is going to be the first time they're facing international competition at a LAN, and you know, they're not on home soil. These guys are a long way from home, so all of this does really start to play in. There are a couple of players to keep an eye out for, though. Players like Motto, he is someone that has got some incredible plant statistics. Over the course of the LATAM League, he's had 13 plants down. That's a number that you would look to someone like Brede, or more recently Adrian, which is so nice to be able to say now. That's someone that you would look to for them to be getting that sort of number of plants down. And then when it comes to kills, they've also got a little bit of that fragging power as well.
Yep. And I think that's the thing with Pyrox there in that position. An insane amount of numbers, an insane amount of people killed. That man, I think it was 140, 150, that sort of range of what he's achieved over this split, which in that sort of window against some of the teams they're up against, even in their region, they weren't really the favorites to make it through. Vasco, for a lot of people's money, were that sort of LATAM team to be the next to tread the boards. We've seen a couple. We've obviously had Revan, kind of. Alpha or Ferris, they are able to have a great run for the Latin American region as well. Here, though, this is the new chance. Can they be the first LATAM team to get themselves through towards a live stage?
And it is exciting. It's exciting that they're here. I cannot wait to get this game underway. It does, however, appear as though we have got a little bit of an issue that is going to take slightly longer to resolve. So we are going to cut to a break. It will be about 10 minutes. After the break, we will be back with our maps to see just exactly where we're going. Spoiler alert, I can read upside down, I think it might be Clubhouse.
I think it might be Clubhouse.
But we will lock in all 3 maps just after this break. Hello everybody and welcome back to the B stream once again, this time for real. We are hoping to hop into our next game very, very shortly. Thanks for bearing with us during that short pause. Hopefully now we've got everything resolved and we are ready to get underway with things. We've got SSG, we have got Cruelty, and we have got a spot to decide who is going to advance on through this bracket and who is going to drop down to our lower bracket.
It's exciting. It's dangerous. It is, out of all of these games in this first set, the sort of biggest underdog-overdog story. Because Cruelty, as we said before the break, their first international appearance ever from the only region that wasn't able to make it towards Invitational. Chalet, Consulate, Skyscraper, Labs, 2 of the maps we've already seen, gone out of here, including the Decider as well on the 3rd of Consulate. We've got an entirely fresh series ahead of us.
No surprise to see the Consulate removed there. It is without a doubt Cruelty's best map. It's their second preference, but they have got a 4-win streak on that map, so it makes sense to remove it. Let's get them somewhere that they aren't going to be too comfortable. In this situation, you can very easily imagine that SSG probably have a slightly deeper map pool than that of Cruelty, and you can see that getting exposed right here.
In terms of where we're going to find ourselves, Bank and Clubhouse. Now, Cruelty wanting to take us to Bank. It is a little bit of a risky strategy, I think, and this is where your taste of international comes in, because SSG, they've got a 9-map pool, and Bank is one that they very much enjoy.
Bank's a great map for SSG. I'm very surprised to see this coming out here, and it could genuinely be one of those occasions where we've just got a team that is really muscling through the map bans. It's not necessarily a case that Cruelty want to play on Bank, it's just that they want to play on Chalet and Skyscraper a lot less. Chalet, on the flip side, is Cruelty's third most preferred map, so it was kind of a surprise to see them come out with that one to ban straight away, but Skyscraper, with it being a 7th preference, no real shock, and it does leave you a little bit open. We mentioned about maps that SSG are fond of, and Border, coming in as our decider map, is another map that SSG are more than happy to go to.
I mean, Border and them as a team, I just put, that's bread and butter. That's 1-1 makes 2. I'm already seeing, if we get there, blitz plays from Forest, charging their way up. They know their way around a shield, and this is that conversation that we had before, where we're talking about the power of shields in the meta, the power of shields in the current game. SSG could arguably have the best blitz player in the world on their roster. I know it's up for argument. People are going to talk back and forth. Is that just going to be a constant no from Cruelty, or are they going to risk it? Because these are maps where I think they could really get a run with it.
It is, and you don't have to look too far to realise just exactly why. We can look back and cast our minds, and we can see that the last time that Cruelty played Bank, it was a good deal of time ago. It was 58 days ago. Woo. In a competitive setting. And don't forget the quality of teams that they are going to be playing inside of that competitive setting isn't necessarily the same quality you're going to be seeing in NAL. I know we like to rag on NAL quite a bit, but we've got to give them credit where their credit is due. So coming into a map like Bank, it really does leave you quite open. We've spoken about both these teams now. Digging a little bit deeper, you think about Bank, you think about this roster of SSG and what they are capable of. With the way that Siege is played out at the minute, we've already spoken quite heavily today about shields, and we will do throughout the course of the major, I imagine. But those options, I mean, look, Iconic, he's flicking through the notes right now.
Last minute reading.
He has got some, that's not Strat, that's Shakespeare.
He's going to write us a sonnet.
He's just squatting up, you know?
He knows what he's going to deliver, and it's going to be beautiful literature. This is the thing about this team as well, though. J90 has been unbelievable throughout this play. Ashen as well. The pair of them have delivered such a decent run recently, and SSG haven't been as sharp, I think, as we sort of expected them to be, based on the performances they put internationally, based on the run at Invitational, the run at the majors. This sort of showing of the pair of them almost pulling the team through in a region that's a little bit topsy-turvy, with Beast Coast obviously taking the crown. Is this going to be the moment where international ground, something they're all familiar with, they can start to deliver this project with the sort of old roster we talked about coming back together?
J90 and Ashen are plus 120 combined.
A crazy good season.
It's absolutely nuts how much of a hyper carry they are for the team right now. and it's important that they are getting those kills and being able to almost keep the team afloat in some ways, because it isn't necessarily the same story throughout. Poor old Fultz is only -1, so he's kind of pulling his own weight, but not really, you know, pulling anybody else's that might be falling a little bit short. It could be a fantastic start here for Spacestation, but again, they are going into a little bit of an unknown here with Cruelty. So let's see how it all plays when we get ourselves down into the server. As we've said, we are going to be headed to Bank to kick things off here. Cruelty starting off on the defense, SSG starting off on the attack.
Boo! I got a fun, sad fact for you. Well, it's an exciting fact.
How is it a fun, sad fact?
It might not be sad. It's definitely fun.
Okay.
But it depends how you're looking at this fact. Monty band, we'll talk about these bands in a second. The last time LATAM were in this first game on a first play day was against SSG. SSG took Alpha Ferris at Atlanta in that opening play day 7-3. I believe it was 7-3, 7-4, something around those lines on Skyscraper. So this is a little bit of revenge potentially from LATAM as a region, because if they'd seen a little bit more distance throughout that tournament, they might have been able to get a spot at SI.
Well, let's see if it plays out in a similar way. SSG no stranger in that regard to coming up against that, but it was a different roster. It was a bit of a different time. It's the same org, but these things do have a way of changing. We are going to see our first Fenrir ban of the major so far. I mean, at least from what I've seen. I don't know what happened over on A stream. We didn't watch the other games
because Demo was on them.
Well, and B stands for best, so at least the first ban on the B stream.
I love this music.
We also have the Monty has been removed, along with the Ying, so colour me shocked. Valkyrie has also gone though. Obviously Valkyrie, massive intel operator, and even though there is so much available to the defenders these days, Valkyrie still finds the way into that ban, especially on a map like Bank, where there is so much potential to hide those black eye cameras.
The Monty removal, it's going to be a Monty, it's going to be a Blitz, it's going to be one of two. Now Bank, with its sort of vast open spaces, with the ability to dig in and plant on the back end of the sort of server room towards the basement take, it makes a little bit more sense. There's a lot more of a sort of run, so the Blitz isn't as powerful, regardless of the build-up we made before. This is the lineup, this is the approach. Yeah, you got a good mix, J9O and the Carly to really try and put some pressure from the long range on towards the windows, potentially holding on. It's a power position, but it's one that you can't really sit on forever. You need the impact, you need the execution to come through from the rest of the roster itself. They have the cover. Now the questions are, Cruelty, what do you have to try and slow them down? Do you have the minerals?
The Carly can be a blessing and a curse. Like you say, you can get yourself into a power position, you can get yourself onto a window, top of garage, wherever you might go. But if your team isn't successful and then you're left at a disadvantage, you are essentially just leaving your team in a 1 versus X. Ashen isn't wasting any time here. Immediately gets himself in. Some great drone work there for the side of SSG. We've seen 30 seconds, Emmy, and he's just walked in and picked himself one for Nout.
I mean, what happened there from the side of Cruelty? It's almost like, yeah, you're at the major now. Be ready for us. The Ash of Ashen just tearing their way through. As you said, on the back of great drone work, the Solace. Ivan's waiting to see if anything does come a little bit further around the corner, is being pulled back and covered towards the top white. Remember where the pressure needs to be built from. They have all a stock open, so anyone that gets towards, obviously Marble, the top of the white stairs, will find themselves under a big sort of hit of pressure. Forrest, he's got that pressure on towards the windows. They need to make sure they keep the lobby security. We'll see a jump out over the next 6 rounds. When it happens, I mean, that's when it happens.
Hopefully for the attackers, there'll be a Claymore waiting. You can see some there at the bottom of the screen right now. Fultz is going to find one onto Ivan. Finished off there, I think, from J9O. I think he may have found the down there. J9O still not being credited with a kill, so maybe just putting in that covering fire. But there it is! Top of elevators is not safe, Pyrox. You cannot just wander there willingly. And this is what happens when you have the Cali and when your team is successful in that opening couple of kills, because it just increases the pressure. Not only have you got short range pressure, it's now long range as well.
Whoa, just circling their way around Matumbo. Unfortunately not able to get the take onto one. There's the crossfire of Ashen. They finally get rid of a single player. Iconic is gone. But with the plant being secured, with the man exactly pinchered all the way around, I mean, SSG, they knew what they wanted to do, and step by step, it really felt like there wasn't an obstacle, player or otherwise, that was going to stop them doing it.
Easy as you like there from SSG. They walked themselves in, got the opening kill. Ashen, is this the start of some trash talk? Did you all set up your SSDs? Does he notice something like the wrong attachment on the wrong gun or something like that? I don't know. We are going to be popped into a brief tech pause as something is going to get fixed here. But a lightning round there from SSG, and to be honest, I didn't really expect much less from them.
It was exceptional. And this is the thing, right? So when you're watching the leagues and when you're trying to get as much siege as possible in the build-up towards a major, you're trying to catch things as they happen. But you know that you can't watch everything. You got to sleep it sometimes. Siege fanatics, and you catch it at the end. However, you'll see results come through. We'll see on the NAL. You'll wake up and go, oh, okay. Beast Coast is having a really, really good split from this team that's come together. Amazing. How is that happening? You don't really get the true taste until you're able to go back and watch it. It was sort of the same with SSG because they didn't start great. It was long games, but you're wondering, why are they not quite able to it before you could sort of get into it? And then this is kind of the expectation when you get around to watching it, and this is how I think everyone expected, is how connected that play was. We talked about it before, the building up around Iconic, the bringing him back into a roster and a system. These are almost the takes where you're starting to see all 5 of them operate really, really well together.
Downstairs we go, Cruelty. Not going for another attempt upstairs. I'll be honest, upstairs is a very difficult site to defend, especially with what is available, and especially with the way that SSG chose to approach that. It looked as though Cruelty were really trying to play for a C4 below. They had the mute below, and that was the kind of setup and the vibe. But then when that just gets destroyed by Ashen, you think, hang on a minute, let's consolidate. Let's not try anything too fancy just yet. Let's see if we can keep hold of the basement. Now, they have got a little bit of a roam presence here, and that is okay. You are expected to roam somewhat. You don't want to give the entire map away for free, but you need to make sure that those channels and routes back to the site are relatively safe.
They've got themselves the extension in towards server, and Ashen's not handed the fight immediately, but he really wants to take something. I don't know if there was a drop that came around on the corner, but there is a player that Mutombo, I was going to say, almost got dropped there. A single bullet connects onto the back end of that, and he's gone. How aware he was of the positioning, whether he thought it would be a fight and just got entirely the wrong side of it. I mean, it's led to a bit of a negative result. But again, I love that Ashen, he wanted to be there. He wants that first blood.
It was the discipline from Ashen as well. He didn't shoot him on the way across. He shot him on the way back because he had a better window and he didn't want to give the game away too much. If Mutombo goes past there and doesn't get shot at, he thinks it's safe. But he gets shot on the back because Ashen's just got that level of patience.
Didn't take the jammer either. Didn't give
exactly.
anything.
Didn't shoot the jammer. So there was, and now guess what? The jammer's done nothing. Yeah, it stopped a drone going through, but that's now dealt with. We've now got Forest getting established up there, and we can start thinking about our own game. Whoop-a-daisy, out the window we go. Ivan, there it is. It didn't take too long. Ashen, for all that you started off the round pretty well, you have been taken out by one of the oldest tricks in the book. The question: can SSG deal with this directly? Is J90 going to lose his life to this? No, Iconic. He joins the party as well. Good teamwork to deal with that jump out.
I mean, I said you would see it. I didn't expect
it to be on the basement.
I didn't expect it to be on the basement, but it's always going to happen. And it'll always probably net you one. Let's be honest. Although it's an old trick, it's still a consistent one. There's a reason it happens. But it's not something you can bank on. It's not something you can deliver every single time. Yes, I said it. I put the name of the movie in the movie. Pyrox, he was the player that really led the firefight game for this team throughout their split, throughout their season recently. So he's one that we need to start seeing getting a little bit active on these defenses. But Iconic, he deactivates his second of the round and gets the end of Rovey.
The site was pretty light for a time there. I've seen a couple of players rotate themselves back. We do still have that presence inside of blue as well from Tusky. But Fultz, he's got the main stairs on his mind, and he's going to be taking Pyrox out. A severe lack of kills coming in here from Cruelty, and no position to be able to trade one another either. Castle Barricade could be slowing Forest down up here in open, and with 20 seconds to go, there is a hatch knock waiting to happen. A C4 in the hands of Tutsi, but not for long. What a frag there from Forest. Mutombo, he's got a lot of work to do. He's getting shot in the back, and it's going to be Iconic to finish him off. Iconic there, picking up a couple of kills where The defender was essentially caught looking the entire wrong way. Some brilliant teamwork from SSG to break that down.
I mean, supernatural there for a second. The swing round, the comms was, what a clear.
Yeah.
And SSG, again, for all that we want to talk about it, and when you get into a game that you know is framed as a sort of underdog-overdog story, just statistically, when it comes together, you don't want to feel like you're just harping on the negatives. But at this point, you can tell this is experience. This is a team that's faced international fight against Cruelty, who, they flew in, I think, the day before yesterday, and they're still sort of getting themselves immediately in to playing a team that was playing on the biggest stage in Brazil not too long ago and sort of putting the fight in towards Invitational. We've got a very quick rehost. Hopefully we'll be back in with the game very shortly. But again, this is all the thing where, to be honest, I don't think this will slow SSG down much because we see them when they get heated up. We see them when they let you know. They're sort of cruising at this pace right now. Everything's so controlled.
Oh, we haven't even seen a crank round yet.
Haven't even seen a crank round.
Crank it. It's one of my favourite things about SSG.
Is the cranking.
Is the crank rounds, yeah. Well, they've got the call book, haven't they? It goes a little bit deeper, doesn't it? It goes from more of a traditional sports background where you have like an NFL call book and then certain things mean certain things.
Oh, yeah.
So call-outs obviously got this and put it through the team. And there is a thing called a crank round. And I like to have a little bit of fun with it. But in reality, it does work. If we get to a crank round point today, then I'm going to be thrilled.
I mean, the things you love about this game is the things you love about this team as well. I think it's one of those things where the best bit of the major isn't just seeing the best teams in the world from all the best places go against each other, but also the styles of not only how they play, but how they energize themselves, how they deliver themselves on a server. SSG, to my little English heart and brain, are the most American team in like a cool way.
Yeah.
They wearing the same glasses. They're coming. Call out could be on the side of an NFL pitch, and I would be like, yeah, he belongs. He's supposed to be there. The team, they have the sort of guns, the flexing. I love it. I entirely am wholeheartedly, give me an American flag, I'll start waving it. That's how I feel when I watch SSG play. And it's just so entertaining to sort of bring in and develop. And again, this is them at their calmest. This is them on their first play day. And I think, people at the start of the split wouldn't have expected them to be a phase 1 team. They're here. They're going to make the most of it.
Exactly, and this is what it's about. There's time for energy and there's time for that sort of explosion, but you really don't want to, burn out, and you don't want to go too big too soon.
Yeah.
And I think they'll be mindful of this game. They'll have done the research against Cruelty, and Cruelty will have done their research as well coming in. One of the disadvantages that Cruelty's got is that SSG have got experience playing internationally.
They do.
They've played a lot of these teams before. These aren't necessarily going to be first-time fixtures for them, whereas a team like Cruelty's coming in, and as the new kids on the block, every game is a new time fixture. Every time that they play a team, it's like, right, this is the first time we're playing an EU team. This is the first time that we're playing an APAC team or a Japan team or whatever it is. So it does get a little bit more tricky in that sense, and there is, arguably more to prepare for on the side of Cruelty. So you are going to expect them to have maybe a slightly slower start, maybe show a few more nerves, and take a little bit longer to really get into the fixture. Obviously, the technical pause doesn't help. We are in the midst of a rehost at the moment, and it looks like we are going to be going ahead. Obviously, we do have we do have a little view as to what is going on here. And the players are all back in the lobby. We'll do some final checks, and then we'll be getting ourselves back into the game.
Now, this is a worry I have, Ollie, is if you're looking at Bank and you're looking at it, a lot of the times you're sort of on that 3-3-1/2 when you get into the game. There's usually a site that you should be able to get a bit consistency on, and there's a site that might be a bit back and forth. And the third site, you can play open. You often will. It's still tricky. It's still tough to get it entirely nailed in when you're in a sort of back and forth game. If you're there because you've won the previous 2, it will be a fight. If you're there because you haven't, will it be a fight? And that's my worry right now.
sticking to a rotation is pretty bold from Cruelty because they've not found success elsewhere. Is that because they've made mistakes, or is it because SSG have outplayed them? They're obviously thinking at the moment that it's something they want to think about for a bit longer and try and find some success elsewhere before re-attempting either the basement or the top floor. So they choose open area and they see what they can find there. If open is then a problem as well, well, you start to get yourself into a bit of a sticky mess. Open, typically as an attacker, you're going to want to try and take a lot of vertical control. You're going to get yourself into stock upstairs, take control of janitors, CEO, square stairs, and really start to cut down some of the avenue for rotation on that top floor and work a little bit of vertical. Now, there isn't any more sign that you want to work the vertical than bring in a ramp, and there it is, the boogie, it's going in.
Yep. You're putting your way across all that vertical without the danger of it immediately. Obviously, there was the kill and the jump out on the previous round. Now, because there has been the rehost on the kills, I'm wondering, is there been only 2 kills over the first 2 rounds? There was one in the first that was against Iconic. Otherwise, I remember the jump out kill from the second round. I don't know if there was a lot more than that.
I will be able to tell you, Emmy.
Oh, you get that up and I'll talk about this play. They're holding on underneath. They're sort of saying, look, step in, but it's so expected. The C4 Atoski's going to try and, I was going to say, read something. Is he going to go for another jump out? The answer is yes, and there's the result. Fultz had the watch. As I said, there's consistency. J9O did almost die, but he didn't, and that's that sort of split. You've just sent your intel gatherer that was underneath in that position. Yeah, you could rotate the Solace in, but the Pulse is perfect for it. For what? A risk, a chance, a dream?
What's the charge?
What's the charge? A meal? A succulent J9O dead meal?
It's true, though, isn't it? You look at the risk-reward there, the Pulse is going to be fantastic. You know that SSG are going to play Vert. You know that you've got a C4 in the hands of Mirror, and now you're not able to use it because you might not have that info. Ivan, he's rotated himself upstairs. Could have a chance here onto Ashen and will convert, but look at the proximity. Fultz is immediately there to trade. Pyrox takes Forest down in the meantime, a kill that hasn't gone traded for the time being, as he hangs out here inside the stock. Hatch is soft, can drop that, throw a goo, and get himself back to the safety of the site.
They've pulled back 50 seconds, and they've done well to get themselves the trade background. The Habana and the Ram are both gone. Now, with the control sort of in the hands of SSG above, they're going to see if they can try and focus around the bottom of the hatch, get security on towards Beepers, maybe try and tuck the plant on the back end, but it's not an easy drop to make. But when you've only got 30 seconds, easy becomes kind of out the window. Everything becomes a bit of a challenge. The hatch is open, the rotate's coming round on towards it. As I said, they're looking towards that. There's only a single player that's directly contesting it, but the Mirror can get there very quickly. Pyrox is an important call and job. 15 seconds, the Bees come round, they're hopped in the window, doesn't get the player on the drop. The swing comes round from Iconic, looks for the next, hungry for the fight itself, but Fultz is the man that needs to stick it. They've got the cover on Beepers, there's just Mutombo left. He cannot quite get towards one engagement. He's suddenly in 2, but the rotate's over the top. He has to quickly get this first. The C4 will cement it. Now the vertical. J9O, a sliver of health. The kit being played from below. The pop draws some of the attention. There's some great preamble, though. He knew where he needed to be, but he didn't have a lot of health to do it.
J9O is one of the best players in the world, you know, and I don't say that lightly.
Yeah.
The play sense in that moment, as soon as the C4's ripped and you know that your teammate's gone, you've just got to go upstairs. You just have to play that vertically from above. You've lost Iconic, pushing in copy. Iconic did a cracking job, by the way. His rotation outside on that top floor, we had Fultz coming in and dropping the hatch. We had Iconic. He got himself into stock, and I was thinking, surely they're not going to double hatch drop, and all of a sudden you see Iconic's intention. He keeps sprinting. He runs out the window. He hops to copy. It was somewhere that they'd not touched throughout the whole round, and it was the big glaring weakness in the Cruelty defense at that moment in time. J9O securing it there, but a very, very much a team effort from SSG. 3 rounds to 0. Every site has gone answered here by SSG, and Cruelty choose now to take their tactical timeout. Is there anything that they can do in this time to steady the ship? Because at the moment, it kind of doesn't even look like we're watching 2 teams at the same level.
It's unfortunate, but it's it's one of the hardest things in the world, right? They sort of say that the 2 hardest games that you'll play when you get to a major is your first one and the final. And whether that order changes. But it's because you get to the pace of it. It's an entirely different game. Even just playing on LAN, regardless of the sort of setup. And yeah, they have some of the experience. Getting there when you're now against these sort of figureheads of their entire region, being able to deliver themselves, their game, their play style. We said it during the map reveal that this is where things are going to get a little bit tough for Cruelty because the team hasn't been together a huge amount of time. They were sort of pieced together. From, I think, 3 of them came from ex-Alpha or Ferris. They sort of pulled in the 2 others from 2 different rosters, and they've done well to get to this point. But experience gives you a deeper map pool. Experience gives you your legs to play this first game, the final game, at a major. And SSG, recent SSG, has been a very experienced team in that regard.
Welcome to the big leagues.
Welcome to the big leagues.
That's what it is, essentially. You know, you can do well domestically. And we've seen this, you know, through many teams. Fantastic. You've played well domestically. Now you're with the big dogs. And, you know, teams, they won't hold off during the domestic league, but there will be things that get in the way, and they will save things for the live events because this is what matters to them. This is where the SI points are. This is where the big prize pools are, and this is what they want to play for. They want to win trophies. That is essentially the crux of it here. We have got to find who has it to advance through the bracket, take on, of course, it's going to be Bleed, and then move forward, and obviously a team is going to drop down into that lower. So far, SSG, they've had a fantastic start here on Bank. 3 rounds in a row. On the attack, it is worth adding, for a day that we've seen has been relatively defend-decided in the first half of obviously our first game, Bleed versus CAG. It is now sort of balancing out as all things should.
Slight changes in terms of the hold itself. Obviously, the reinforcement on towards the hop-in on stock. It means that they can maybe keep control of Janitor's door a little bit firmer. They weren't quite happy with how things fell apart there. Curious what they're going to try here. Are they just going to force this close player out so they can't swing in when they go for the cover? There's Mutombo catching at least one. There's the swing in on towards the back end player, but J9O suddenly up the spiral stairs. The execute has come together. J9O with a secondary finds his secondary as easy as you like. Ivan's trying to rebuild some structure as Forrest goes for the plant. It's covered, very calm and cool. Top white falls, and Pyrox all alone hops out for one and finds it. But at this point, they can very easily replace that player. Fultz, nice, smart.
Fultz is fuming there. He's absolutely fuming. The plant is going down, and this guy runs out of the top of square just to get one.
I mean, he will get back up there, but lo and behold, someone has replaced that position. And they're back out on the rappel. It is an impactless kill at that point, because you've got to fight the position. But this isn't how. Do you know how you could also do it? Is utilize the Kiba in the pocket, try and cover the window, cover some motion. But again, it is so easy for you and I to sit here and say that. We don't have to play. I would have jumped out and not even got the kill.
We've played the game, though. I've seen you play the game. You'd have put the Kiba down.
Yeah, but outside.
Yeah, outside, yeah.
I would have thrown the Kiba at fault.
And he would have still typed, nice.
He would have still
smart.
Nice, smart. I would have tried to hit him with the Kiba. No, but again, it's experience, right? And they can be as sassy as they like inside chat. That's SSG. And you'll either like it or you won't like it. I'll be honest with anyone watching this. If you've not seen SSG, regardless of the game, who they're up against, how intense it is, all chat will be open.
Oh, the sass. There
the
is.
Sass.
But it comes in many ways. Comes in J9O getting 3 kills with Cali's secondary. Because it wasn't working out there on the rappel, so he walks himself up spiral and picks himself 3.
Yeah.
And it's like it's just effortless. It's like it's nothing to him. He's 5-0 right now. Don't forget, we had the little rehost, and I think he was 2-0 before that, so it's potentially 7-0 right now.
I like the idea that ages ago, I talked about J9O. Well, I talked about Carly specifically, and I said, if you're playing that on the Windows, which most people would do, and we saw him do a bit of it, if you leave it too long, you'll just be giving your team a 4 versus X. Because you know, you can force people to give you engagements there by forcing positions. It takes more than just the Kali there. And if things go wrong, you're sort of there waiting. J9O's different. He'll just, they're like, oh, we can do a quick snappy take here. Great read, first of all, by SSG. And then he's like, cool, I'm at the top right. I'm looking for the fight. Ashen's looking for a fight here. Oh, just misses it. But does he know about janitors? There was a hot ping, so I think he's just going to try and play himself a bit safe.
Hits the quick call there and gives him the option to drop. Not sure if he knows there's a shotgun player playing behind the shield, but he doesn't care. Goes for the swing anyway. Will be taken out there along with the drone. The drone maybe coming in a little bit too late. We already know that somebody is there. Fultz, is he about to meet the same fate? He's going to set himself up a drone on those main stairs, try and gather a little bit of info. This mid portion of the map is really being heavily contested right now. That Warden is going to be a tough nut to crack there inside of the elevator. And Fultz, for the time being, is just going to choose to ignore it. Instead, focus a little bit of attention inside of Janitor. But do they know about Rovi here? He's just tucked into Printer. Fultz, bad info there. Didn't know that he was in that position, just ratting it out. And, well, this looks like the start of Cruelty's first round.
J9O and Forest are close to the site, and they want to see if they can maybe get this player underneath. They've entered via the lobby hatch. Not been offered to Forest yet. The plant's coming through. Oh, almost the worst time. There's one. Looks for the second and doesn't quite get it. A post plant. But Cruelty, they just have to structure their take together. It's still 2 versus 4. 3 versus 2 versus 1 versus J9O. Finds himself in a 1 versus 1 from where we were to where we are. The C4 is shot out. And there's the connection. You said it before. He's one of the best in the world. But at the same time, the team we've just seen pull that off. I mean, such good, cool, calm sailing.
I've never seen anything like it. How the heck have they managed to get the plant down there in a 2 versus 5 in that situation? The site was just entirely surrendered. Cruelty were like, we're just going to play the mid floor. It's fine. They had no idea SSG were in the site. They had no idea SSG were getting the plant down. Maybe they did, because Forest picked up a couple of kills as players were rotating back. But still, you've got a flood. Whilst that plant's going down, there's one player alive from SSG that you've got to deal with. Flood that position.
I mean, first of all, socials, if you watch B stream, you can have a field day with that clip of J9O. That's gonna be in the reels.
That's in the highlight reel.
That's in the highlight reel. But I mean, you're entirely right. Right? Is what you want to think at that period of time is, what do Cruelty know? What do they think they know? They dropped the hatch, as you said, but they had entirely forfeited the site, which is strange, because even a single engagement before that could at least be the early warning sign. Forest was set up to get 1 for the freebie. He wanted the other hatch fight first before the plant was secured, which might have made things go worse.
Just drop at the same time. You can't do 2 things at once.
Can't do 2 things at once.
Just, you know, if you're going to drop the hatch and you're going to try and retake the site, you've got to do it with somebody else. And I think the Warden there, Pyrox, he possibly just, you know, delayed a little bit too much. I don't know what the call was, or if he even knew that his teammate was going to drop and try and retake. But you've got to try and play with a little bit more togetherness, because at the moment, J9O, he's on absolute fire. Ivan, first to fall here. Ashen, in and out. How many times have we seen Ashen get himself in, get the opening pick, and then just get himself out again? He can get onto the rappel, can do whatever he likes now.
Will they get the flawless half? I believe it will be the first flawless half of this tournament. Again, we weren't watching the A stream games, but they had a bit of a back and forth. Will we have the first flawless game? Now these questions that start to be asked. Remember, it is Cruelty's map. It's not their sort of drive on. Pyrox, he's trying to find an engagement. They've lost the Solace. They can't quite have the full read. You can see they're just sort of prepping for the drop, for the take. A C4 does get 1. J9O's in the middle of it to find 1 and 2. He is stopped. He can maybe be killed. He can be downed. They do get 1 on the back end, but with Fultz covering Rovi, it is just Matumbo trying to hold on and find the confirm. On towards the down player. Does he go for the pickup? There's the rotation. The catch is almost made onto Forest. Does the smart move, but now they know entirely where the two players are. They should get J9O's. Okay, able to live. He'll tell everything about Toski's position. They're able to react. Mutombo gets one. Forest is all that's currently left. He's looking to find his way out. A 1 versus 1 now. Both players are down. He's able to finish his. He's on the swing of the Beeper's door. Close, and it's Forest! To get the confirmation. J9O lives.
J9O still is 8-0. He's still not died. How on earth has he survived that? Forest has just saved his KD. His KD is now going to be through the roof. Cruelty are losing rounds here that they couldn't be more given to them. It couldn't be on a nicer plate. It's a silver plate on a silver platter. There's a nice napkin. It isn't a paper napkin, it's cloth. There's some thick spoons and
it's
thick
like a wedding.
cutlery.
It's like a wedding
It is.
cake.
There's some serious presentation going on right here. And Cruelty just going, bosh, I'm going to eat with my hands and get it all down my shirt. That's the second or third round there that has gone. And you know, you always expect to see 1 or 2 inside of a series. There will be games that go, you know, and don't always go pretty. They don't always go the right way. SSG, time after time, they're being given the opportunity to clutch. And this is a team that will take that opportunity. They will clutch against you.
10 seconds to go.
6-0. SSG go onto their defense here to try and push Bank over the line. It is a fresh half. You've seen a flawless half before. See if you can try and replicate some of the magic here. Cruelty. It will start with almost going for this full mental reset against your opponents. Trying to get the delivery in. Now think about where we're playing as well. We talked about site preference. We talk about where you can sort of feel comfortable, how open is for a lot of teams. That tertiary, that go-to, it's a bit hit and miss. You get security elsewhere. SSG, I mean, when you're 6-0 up, you can do whatever you like.
Go where you like. Go where you like. You don't need to give anything away. You could go to the 2 mid-floor sites if you really wanted to. You could go to Archives Cellars if you're feeling a little bit fruity. You know, there's no pressure on you. There's no stress. We've been in this situation before tonight. We've seen Bleed versus CAG, and Bleed went up 6-1. However, this just feels a little bit different, given that we've seen Cruelty not be able to keep up with the pace. They're a little bit off, you know. They're not keeping up with the guy that's setting the pace at the moment. And the team that's setting the pace in this match is SSG.
Solace.
Great little bit of Solace play here from Fultz. And, well, he's going to give the game away, but again, it just wastes a good bit of time. If that player then has to go all the way out of Garage, it's wasted the time. But Robbie here could be in position to strike.
The calls come through. The Solace can't detect that fully, and they're just going to still win the fight anyway. Pyrox does get Forest. At least finds one of the kills on the dip down, but J9O is there to get instant revenge. The rebuttal that was read by, as you said, iconic Shakespearean practice beforehand. I mean, this is turning into a bit of a tragedy here for Cruelty. Mutombo waiting for the catch, hoping a player swings their way up blue. But again, remember where the site is. At some point, you will have to contest that position, but at some point, you have to try and get the plant in. And Echo, he's reading everything. Toski does get faults. A good little swing round. They had the watch on towards the back-end player. J9O has one of them pinched, or at least well prepared for. But as he slowly gets surrounded, at some point, you're looking towards the activation.
It's not the end of the world that we've got a couple of SSG players dead at the moment, because there are cams to watch. We've got Yokai drones, and we have some defaults. We've got the Bulletproof as well, so they're going to be flicking through those. But Tuski, he has got the Sixth Sense. J9O, finally, in round number 7, is taken out.
Ivan finds Iconic, and it's all down to Ashen. The Echo hits the beepers. They'll know where he's coming from, but they're going to try and stick the plant anyway. They have some of the cover. It's close on the left, just a second too late. Gets the one he can. Holds the fight towards the next. Has time to reload, but the width that's offered, the hot pings on the players, waiting for the swing either side of the hard. They've got to make sure that they're playing on contact here. As soon as one's revealed, the other can act. The impact won't quite have the full catch, and finally, Cruelty break the deadlock. They get one. How much further can they go?
Welcome to the major, Cruelty. You have picked yourself up your first round here in Manchester. It's taken a good amount of time, but you got it over the line. On the face of it, quite a nice attack. They went for a bottom clear. They cleared through garage. They cleared into lockers. Now, they did that for a couple of reasons. They knew that SSG were going to play a little bit deep. They obviously had some pre-placed drones there, but they needed to get a handle of that roam game because it was evident. Now, we said it was maybe a bit bold for SSG to go to open area, and perhaps it was, maybe a little bit too confident. They've gone back down to basement now. They're probably going to try and lock it in here and now, but it was a chance for SSG to just flex the muscles a little bit more and say, come on, we'll take you to a tertiary site and see what we can do.
That's it. That's sort of the build-up. It was, as you said, a great approach. From Cruelty, they knew where they wanted to take the fights. You had an almost hands-off attitude, I think, from a lot of SSG. They didn't give up territory. They were happy to try and take the fights underneath when they came towards them. They weren't just sort of sitting back towards the site. But at the same time, there wasn't that reactivity that we've seen that they're capable of on a lot of the other holds here. They were happy to sit on cams, on the Echo, and ping it as somebody gets killed elsewhere. It's not they're always sort of story and song. Here, this lineup, I think a lot more mobile, a lot more ready for engagements. You've obviously got the Malusi to give you some of the calls and the Frost to try and slow things down as well, but these are heads-up players. These aren't looking in your cameras.
No, there's no one on SSG that's going to be sat on site looking through a camera and flicking a yokai.
Yeah.
You might have Pulse playing, sorry, not Pulse, they might have the smoke playing down there, and you've got the Toxic Babe canisters. There's no C4 in the lineup. There's no Goyo. There's none of these things that are classic time wasters. Instead, they're looking to try and take the fight aggressively to Cruelty, and J9O has been punished for it. Ivan takes him down. Dokubi call comes through, and that's going to give Iconic now something to think about as well. He answers the phone, but he's tucked here inside of CEO.
J9O, 2 deaths in a row, but still with a pretty confident game played out at this point, and he knows the team behind them. Ivan, though, gets one, gets dropped. A bit of a risky motion, as Ashen does get the secure onto the cover, and they get Ivan. Suddenly, that lead of 2 bodies becomes a trade back out. Mutombo is able to catch one, but Toski goes down in the same second. They're inside the site, trying to put the pressure on the same way, but it's come with a lot more pressure. Forest, once again, in a clutch situation of 1 versus 2. They have the ping onto 1 versus 1. Mutombo does not have the kit, but has one of the best guns in the game. Just needs to make a single connection here properly with Forest for them to go down. They're happy to jiggle and wait. Obviously doesn't know about the kit, doesn't know about the positioning, but we saw some pings. They obviously have some of that read coming through. At what point is Forest going to go for the swing? There it is, the hot pings, and there's the catch. SSG. They pilot us over. The single round Cruelty took is theirs, but I think the best bit of this Cruelty is that, unfortunately for them, Liquid vs G2 was on the other stream, so most people might not have seen how your bank's gone.
Bank was very impressive there from SSG. I think it maybe got a little bit scrappy toward the end. It was kind of clear to me that they didn't want to show too much on those defensive rounds.
Yep.
They ran around, and we will use that phrase when teams just run around, and there is very little structure and they rely on gun skill and that to sort of come and win the match and get it over the line. That was kind of the feeling that I got there, at least on the defenses. The attacks was a bit of a different story. I felt like there was great structure there. There was some nice little pocket plays, but it was the teamwork that shone through more than anything for me tonight there with SSG. They had fantastic synergy on that attack, really good and confident in trading those kills. And when you have J9O going 9-0 until round number 7, there's not much that you can do about that.
There is no harder game in the world than you will play than your first international first game. That's been played now.
Yeah.
What I hope we get from Cruelty is a breath, a sort of resetting themselves, and a return to form, because they can definitely play better than that. They know it, we know it, all of their fans know it as well. They've just got to do it against SSG and see if they can maybe try and surprise them.
We do have a second map, obviously, inside of this best of 3. We will be going to Clubhouse next, which of old was a classic SSG map. There is the SSG roam on Clubhouse. That's changed a little bit now. SSG, typically not a very high preference map for them to go on, but it's a good basic map. And if there's one thing that we say about teams, is that they need to be able to do their basics and do them well. So I'm going to be pretty critical, I think, of Cruelty when we get on to map number 2. But for now, let's take a look at the scores on the doors. We mentioned there that J9O, well, he was pretty unstoppable today. 10-2. Now, it's not to be overshadowed by Forest's 10-3. It was just that Forest didn't get 9 kills without dying at any point in the game.
Yeah, Forest, you died 3 times? Gross. No, it was just a fantastic performance by the pair of them, but this is that thing that we talk about where it's a roster that's sort of built. They got here because of the excellent work of Ashen and Jano having an unbelievable form. Now we're starting to get Forest. Now we're starting to get False. Soon we'll get Iconic as well, but obviously he's sort of, I assume, playing that IGL, bringing the Voices role, which was something that he did before with the team. It is starting to take form for them.
Well, you can see that there's definitely some structure there in that there was 4 plants that went down for SSG.
Yeah.
Not only were they getting the kills, but they were playing to the win condition. They were playing to getting that plant down and putting the pressure onto Cruelty and saying, well, you know, you've given us the site, we're going to get the plant down and we are going to work it through. I want to go back, and in the break, I'm actually going to go back and I'm going to watch that clip that we saw from Jano downstairs because it was insane. We're going to hit a very short break, and then we'll be back with map number 2. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the B stream, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. You join us in the midst of our second match of the day. We've got SSG and we have got Cruelty. We've already seen map 1. It was SSG's map.
I mean, it's
in the end.
It's hard to say anything else. Really, it was so in control, so calm, so cool, so SSG, so fetch. But the thing is, it was Cruelty's first ever match on an international stage. They're in an air hangar in Manchester.
You keep calling this an air hangar. It's just a shed.
A plane can fit in this shed.
Yeah, no, but like, I don't mean like shed in a derogatory term. I just mean like it's just a big metal building.
What do you think a hangar is?
Yeah, but there's no aeroplanes here.
Yeah,
there's no big door.
Anyway, they've had the induction that every single team that does when they come to these stages pretty much. Now they got to see if they can try and pull some of that control that got them to this place. They've got to do it against a tough team, but I think we'll see a lot more from Cruelty this map.
I guess, you know, we've got a few sayings inside of Siege, especially when it comes to international events. It's a rite of passage getting smashed by a Brazilian team.
Yeah.
But, I mean, this is a Latin American team. This is a team that is from that region. You know, they're going to be scrimming a lot of the Brazilian teams, I guess, due to proximity. You know, they're not going to be scrimming EU teams and maybe NA teams and things like that. They're going to be used to this. But they've come on and they've been smashed by an NA team, which isn't always something that we get to talk about too much. A 7-1 bank. It was extremely convincing from SSG. Not only because they were able to get in there and pick up the rounds, it was the fashion that they won the rounds in. There was a nice sprinkle of everything. Great amount of teamwork, a big clutch factor, and J9O popping off.
I do like how in the group chat, obviously we discussed this stuff because the people who aren't here yet, they want to keep involved. And Lynx was saying American things about this game and was talking about the 2 vs 5 clutch. And then Pengu just very, very coyly chimes up and says, oh, well, we did that at the Paris Major. So maybe they're just really good. They are pretty good. Nick, you are a pretty good player at Siege.
He does that a lot, and he doesn't realise that he's doing it, and it isn't in like a fancy way or like a showy off way. He's just like, oh yeah, I've done that once.
Yeah.
And it's just like, but like, okay, we get it. We get it. You played the game. You played the game. We get it.
You play ranked with him, and then you forget how good he can be because we bring him down.
Well, we try. It's not that easy though.
No.
It's like a life vest.
Clubhouse. What does it give you? The basics. Are we going to see that help here? Maybe. That's the sort of sticky point right now because SSG, they are a very creative team. When they want to be, they can really develop new fun ideas. And as we've seen in the previous map, if they sniff an opportunity, baby, they're going for it. And this is where we might start to see things fall apart because if you are trusting the basics and the defaults, there is nobody that really likes to throw those on their head more when they see the opportunity than SSG do.
Clubhouse was a map that SSG played a couple of times during the NAL. They lost it most recently against Loss, and they won it against Luminosity. So it isn't a map that they've been sort of shying away from. With it being a middle-of-the-road map, with it being a great basics map, it's usually a map that gets brought out inside a best of ones because it is seen as a fairly fair fight in a lot of ways. The bans are almost a carbon copy of map number 1, but instead of the Valkyrie ban, we have actually mixed things up a little bit. And we've gone for a Tuberal ban instead. So that denial and those freezing Zoto canisters not going to be a factor here. And whilst the Valkyrie does have use here on this map, it isn't anywhere near as impactful as it is on somewhere like Bank. But the Monty remains, as does the Ying.
All right. After that, I really am digging the music. I like how every major has their own like music profile.
We usually get the playlist of it, don't we?
We usually get a playlist of it. Imagine if they suddenly like bust out some like Wonderwall.
I mean, I was expecting that, to be honest.
Tonight, or just tonight's gonna rock it. Like, you know, I'm not gonna do the whole thing, so I don't want to.
I'm not sure what that song was.
Well, I can't do it because we'll get copyright strike. But
are you that
generic,
good?
I am. Just generic Oasis noises. You know, that's where we'll find ourselves. Anyway, I'm enjoying the rock and roll.
10 seconds left.
Cruelty. What can you enjoy here? Let's see what the build-up is. I feel like we've been watching SSG for attack for a very long time because, let's be honest, we didn't really get a lot of their defenses. Didn't need them.
Yeah, it's almost all we saw over on Bank, with it only being an 8-round game. 6 of those rounds were SSG on the attack, and now they're going to be attacking onto Club. A little bit of a different beast, and usually you are pushed into more well-known and prescribed takes, but there is still that opportunity to show a little bit of individual flair, depending on how teams want to approach. Typically, if you're going to be approaching the basement, you want to do a top floor clear and try to work your way down like that. And that's what we are going to be looking toward here inside of map 1. One of the key differentiating factors for teams attacking onto Clubhouse is the speed at which they clear that top floor and how much of that utility they use up.
They're looking to try and just steadily pinch positions. It is how it's done when you said clearing the top floor. The pace that needs to be applied is pretty predetermined. What they've done here is get the width. There's 3 players they're going to try and force out. The first is caught by Fultz, just swings against the breach. Is able to remove Rovi. It's a big operator, big bit of utility gone before it can really start to build up momentum as she grows in power the longer it goes on. They've left the Solace alone, hoping Ivan can maybe, play against some drones, play against some encroaching intel, and offer the support here on the catch. Prepare themselves for the fight with Ashen.
Ashen in a key position now. J90 going to fall as well as he tried to make his way down blue, but Ashen is going to be ready to respond to that. Forrest does a good job of shutting down the Solace upstairs. That's Ivan off the board as well, and maybe a little bit of over-aggression here from Mutombo. He does just peek his gun round, and Ashen immediately jumps into the skeleton key, gets the audio cue. Far too aggressive from Cruelty. This is the basement. You don't need to roam this heavy.
Again, such beautiful, beautiful control of what he wanted to do there. Didn't shoot when he just saw the barrel, waited for the audio. Great pair of headphones. 50 seconds, a 4 versus 2. We've seen these go away from these 2 teams, but it was SSG that won it out last time. Can Cruelty try and make some magic happen? It was now the situation of Pyrox and Toski, 2 players that, again, I guess no one really activated, but Pyrox was huge eyes on in the start of this series.
Pyrox going to pick one up there with the C4. You will see to it that the camera has gone as well, and that could be a bit of information that you might want at some point, especially if you're Tusky and you're now in a 1 versus 2. Picks one up through Moto Hatch. SSG now relatively split out, and Tusky's got a good heads up as to where this player might be. Ashen, how have you not fallen? He hits him with the turn and burn there, Emmy.
It's just either side. Ashen so ready for any of these engagements, any of these confrontations that are being sort of hurtled towards him at this point. Again, they're still not being fully stressed. It's the first round of the second map. They're up 1 map. The longer this series goes on, the more things start to play into SSG's favor. Obviously, the stickier it gets, and the more we go, you can't just write off 1 map. You've got to sort of look at this whole first series. But again, it's just so well controlled. You could see, however, what I will say is Cruelty were running the numbers. They knew what SSG would do. The SSG take, they rotated, Ashen underneath. They were going to force the players down. They preempted that. I think that rotate, very good, very clever, the right thing to do. But then some of the engagements just started to go away from them. They were able to pinch the Solace pretty quickly, SSG, from that point. And those 2 players were the last 2 alive because they just couldn't react to save people.
It's about being in that position to be able to trade off, and if you're going to commit to that top floor clear and you lose somebody early, you have a decision to make. Do you all try and get back to site and make the best of what you've got, or do you try and hold on and pick up that trade back and 1 more? Because as I mentioned, it's a time game, it's a utility game. How much time are they going to spend clearing the top floor, and what's it going to cost them to do it? And ultimately, SSG did it very economically with both time and utility. Now we look toward round number 2, and we're faced with a bit of a different objective. We're going to be into gym and bedroom this time. It usually calls for an across clear from the top, so you're going to try and get into garage, rafters, CCTV, cache, and look to make a stand and work your way through the map in that direction. It's very seldom that you see too much vert coming into this map, or at least this site, until the very end, if a plant is going down. Typically, the big fight initially is for this control of CCTV.
With the breach being one you can approach pretty flat as the fight. Pyrox isn't going to stick around and risk and take it. They've got to try and slink their way Past construction, it's that sort of shooting gallery that it turns into. Ashen gets the work done on towards the castle, has the pre-placed claymore in case anyone feels adventurous, as they did pretty often on the side of Bank. They don't want to hand them these bodies. Again, it's steady control coming through here for the side of SSG. A bit of busy work. You get yourself close towards the hit, but then you get to the other side of it. There wasn't anyone that wanted to strike, though.
There is a player patiently behind the gym rack. We've got Rovi. He's going to be there. He will be getting called out on the drone momentarily as Ashen takes a bit of an engagement. He's got yellow ping to work off inside of bar. This is classic SSG. They're looking for where they can try and pinch and push, and it's Tusky to find himself downed out first. Don't forget, we've seen nearly 2 minutes of play, so in comparison to previous rounds, this one's been pretty slow and steady, but SSG, they've been dotting the I's and crossing the T's. They're really not taking this team for granted.
They tried to offer some support there, Cruelty, but as soon as Tusky went down, they stopped. They realized they couldn't give them 2 bodies in the exchange of just 1, but they might be able to waste a bit of time. Forest, however, where is this blitz? Going to try and make its approach from, because if that suddenly shows up on the door of the site, you realize just how under pressure they are. There's the hop in. Do they know about the gym equipment? Now they do. It's a 1 versus 1. The blinds come across. I complimented the player, but with everyone else dead around them, instead he drops underneath and still wins it out. Then pulls out the goo mine. They should get the cement, and they do on the player drop behind the bar itself, but 25 seconds. He's going to have to push his way up main stairs. There's going to be some of the pressure on the back end, but where's the kit, SSG, and where are you going to try and get yourself towards?
Forrest is going to push upstairs immediately, very aggressive. The castle barricade slows him down, and Iconic gets stunned as he drops Logi Hatch. Forrest, slim amount of health and a hope and a wish to try and do so, is able to stun out one, but Pyrox hits the deck, pulls out the Deagle, and gets the job done.
Now, obviously, as soon as that blitz was active, things went a little bit awry elsewhere. I'm not sure if they really wanted to hit the hatch, if that was...
I don't think they knew it was open. They mustn't have done. Unless they were going for the fancy fadeaway.
It is a very fancy fadeaway. It's either in the heat of the moment with everything going against them, they tried to drop down and rebuild and not get entirely caught out and leave it as a 1 versus X. They were able to cement the first kill. Even without any bullets, if you're toe-to-toe with a blitz, it can very easily go the blitz's way. But whatever else fell apart from them, it brings us level. As we said, we expect more from Cruelty from this side. This is their half that they wanted to start on. They're looking at least 3, I say 4, if they want a chance at pushing this all the way.
Rounds are here for the taking, absolutely. For both sides as well. There's nothing that's really key and defining, you know, in terms of the bans and the current meta that says that if this should go one side or the other. A map like Clubhouse, it is a free for the taking for whoever wants it more. And Cruelty, they've got themselves on the board, which is fantastic. Successful upstairs, they're going to go for the other upstairs site now, CCTV room and cache. This, again, typically calls for a garage push. Something that's great for pushing the garage is, of course, a Monty. That has been banned by Cruelty. No blitz chosen this time from SSG. Instead, they're going to deal with it in a little bit more of an old-school way. They have brought the Capitao, but there is always that relationship between a Capitao and a Wamai. Wamai being the only thing that will capture a Capitao fire arrow and, of course, slow down your clear of garage in the process. A lot of this depends on the success of the keeper barriers up there on Rafters and the success of Ravi and how he's able to play and place those discs. And of course, if SSG really want to try and push it, if they think it's being too heavily held, then why not go for a construction push?
Bolts has got himself a million miles away from getting in and putting the entrance underneath. With J9O on the cover and the breach already down below. They want to try and get is the main breach open as the juggling starts to happen. There's a Selma that gets caught out. One of them does pop. Can't trick both walls, but it's a very high breach. Ooh! And a very low drop there. Rovi catches 1 and 2. There is at least the trade out from range. The keeper barricade. Fortunately, a second too late to save the player. Pyrox is looking for the fight and finds it. Iconic gone. He's feeling his energy now. There's 5-1 for Pyrox. Forest left alone. 1 versus 3. The breach isn't possible. A bit too high. So at this point, Hold off, see if you can punish a bit of a run-up.
Find the freebie. You got a minute.
Find the freebie.
That round really hasn't gone too well for SSG. There's been a bit of a misplay in terms of utility. If you're going to bring a Thatcher, you better believe you should be getting walls open.
Yep.
If you're going to bring a Thermite and an Ace and secondary hard breach charges on a Capital, you better believe that you're getting pretty much 90% of what you want open. They got construction open fine. They got the bottom garage open, but they struggled with main breach. And it's almost unforgivable. Are they walking before they can run? Because, you know, maybe you put a bit more pressure on holding garage and getting control of that, and it gives you an easier time getting into breach. Forrest, he's been here before. He knows how to run a clock down. There's no point in giving himself away too early here. Instead, just wait and try and prey on a little bit of impatience from the side of Cruelty. It's still very doable. He's got one down, and he's going to confirm that. See how many more he can find.
I mean, you know, SSG give it and they expect it. Toski would stop hiding. It is wasting time. It's taking momentum out. He'll probably die. He's not waiting for anything other. All the smoke canisters still in pocket. As you said, basics fell apart there for SSG and stopped the count. Cruelty, a 2-1 up.
First time they've held a lead as well. New ground all the time for this Cruelty roster, and it's good that they get to experience this as well. Let's see how they choose to approach this round. Now we've got an SSG timeout. So, Callout obviously not happy with that either. It's very early days here, don't forget. We've only seen 3 rounds. Yes, we've seen a full rotation of what the likely sites are going to be, but there's something that Callout's not happy with about how that previous round went. And it might be something as simple as the basics. We commented, not getting breaches open. It's a basic. It's a first pager. Get that nipped in the bud straight away and figure out what it was that went wrong. Was it a breakdown of communication? Did people think that other people were further along with their prep in terms of getting that wall open or not? Whatever it might be, it looks like Callout wants to nip it in the bud.
It's fair enough. You have to have these conversations before they turn into problematic systems. He's always been a coach. Remember when we got to do the sort of listen-ins that we've been gifted across the years, and you would have the different elements of coaches. You would have Fabian, you would have Mr. Officer at the time, you'd have very big, loud, impassioned, this is what we do. And Callout, his was very precise, always. It was always, this is what's going wrong, this is where things are falling apart, we need to do this. For a team that is very loud and vocal, he brings an element of calm control. He's always sort of got the eye on it. I think you're entirely right there. He's seen something that he's more than happy to say. Rather than things are falling off, he's saying, this is where it's going wrong, this is what you need to change, all right, the rest of the game is yours, good luck.
And sometimes it's good to do that because it can stop a little bit of bickering.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that that's what was going on, but if it's going to lead into that, let's deal with it straight away. Down to the basement we go, a side that we've seen SSG get themselves into a little bit of hot water over. It wasn't the round that they really wished it to be, although they did come away with the round win in the end. It came down to that 1 versus 1, so they're going to be looking to try and get this done a little bit smoother, I would imagine. And to assist that roam game clear, because they're expecting they're going to be going up against a roam, they're going to bring the Dokkaebi and the Jackal this time, doubling down on that information.
Pyrox wanted to see if he could try and give a little bit of a taste of bank they weren't able to fully deliver. Thrown out and caught out. The Amaya's playing the connection here around Adam, around the top of the blue stairs. But there isn't any direct pressure as of yet. There's a lot of work that has to be done on an approach on Clubhouse, and they're not holding on to the top anywhere near as sort of viscerally as they were before. The hand is loose and already relenting here. Pyrox rotates down, Toski's down. The two are just flirting with the main stairs, but it's not worth it to them.
Well, this is all you've got to do. Sometimes you just got to burn a minute and burn a little bit of util, and that's what they've done here. Look at the time. They've got themselves back down to site. They've gone for a little bit more site-centric setup here. We've got the castle, of course, but instead of the Solace, we've got things like a Warden. We've got things like an Azami. That value comes over time. So they don't need to try and, vie too heavily for this pressure. Pyrox wants to get himself out and have a peek, then feel free. If his Wamai discs are placed, he's going to get some time in like that, then why not? Picks himself up a kill at the top of Oil Pit and just goes, guys, what's all the fuss about?
I mean, what happened there? J9O removed. He was the tour de force of the first map on Bank, and there, just a very easy catch. I wonder if it was droned out and he just mistimed it, but the reactions of Pyrox delivered him onto the next plane. There's some pressure coming up dirt. They're circling themselves towards the default plant, just tucked on the back end of the B chassis here. They need to try and force out the player on the back of A-Case. The mirror isn't offering anything. Fultz is, unfortunately, getting a Selma caught between the beams. Not quite the energy that they want here. They're, again, look at how Cruelty said, oh, they're struggling with the fundamentals. Let's force fundamental siege. Another one for Pyrox. There is the trade out. They try and get the execute. It's traded back and forth, but Pyrox, the Eternal, keeps getting the back end. There's Fultz finally ending him. So don't quite get the ace of Pyrox. 2-1, Fultz, all that's left in this situation. He doesn't have the kit. As I said, they were eyeing up towards the default, and that's where it's sitting for now. 30 seconds. If he can try and cut this into 2 engagement, he stands a chance, but they're not playing it. Cruelty, 3-1 up.
Couldn't get past the first there in the 1 versus 2. Cruelty, they weren't exactly, it wasn't an ideal position really for them to be in, but they made the best of it. They generated a crossfire and they were able to put the pressure on. Again, I think there's some basics that are coming down and really sort of biting SSG in the bum. Like, we're not seeing this. There's an angle for a start onto that mirror window.
Yep.
There is an angle that you can get. It's skinny, it's awkward, it's a pixel, it's horrible, but it can be found. And if it's enough to move that player out of position, then great, let's do it. There wasn't enough pressure coming in through blue that time either. A bit of a lack from SSG there, and they brought the roam clearing ops, they brought the Jackal, they brought the Dokkaebi. But for what roam? The roam didn't last very long at all. It lasted about 50 seconds, 45 seconds, and then you've got 3 players stacked up on main stairs that are just going, yeah, should we go back down site? Yeah, I fancy going back down site, do you? Yeah, come on, let's go, follow me. And Pyrox with his little hop oil bit. I mean, that was just timing.
It is entirely timing, but again, that's why the question I asked there for J9O's sake is, because he has been so electric on these engagements today, was it entirely unaware? Was it just poor timing as it is? That happens. You could have the best player in the world, but sometimes if they go through a rotate and there happens to be someone, that's this game.
But why is there not a drone on it? Why is there not a Claymore on it?
Oh.
Why is there a Solace moonwalking?
I think there's
multiple questions. But I think the first two are at least valid. There should have been a drone at least on that. You know, when you're dealing with attacking into basement, once you've cleared the map, there's a couple of things you worry about. You want a main stairs drone, and you want a blue drone.
Yeah.
And you ideally want an Adam drone as well, but typically you would have someone playing there.
Yeah.
But you're not always going to have someone dropping oil and playing garage, so you want a garage drone. Once you've got those 2 drones, someone flicks, and you flick the drones until those flanks are being actively held.
Got to keep your headphones on.
Claymores are a thing. You could easily put a Claymore down there and stop that. Just, again, you know, a few little steps that aren't really going in their favour. So and the technical pauses as well. For all the first game was flawless, wasn't it? We seem to be catching up with the old tech pause in the second game. Because
the beginning of the game wasn't?
No, the first game. Bleed versus CAG.
Oh, yeah.
It was flawless. The first map of this was bad again.
Yeah, it was pretty plagued.
We seem to be catching up with those blooming tech pauses.
As you all saw, the Solace's crash. We'll just get ourselves back in. Now, the players cannot communicate with the coach. They can't do anything. They have to keep their headphones on. You can see them repositioning them. You wear a headset for a long period of time. As soon as the adrenaline starts to ebb a tiny bit, you'll feel them. And then you go, okay, they're not the most uncomfortable things in the world, but you wear anything for a long... You wear a hat for a long period of time, and you'll find yourself a bit stressed out.
Will you?
Sometimes. They're not allowed to talk to each other, as you just saw the ref remind them as well. The players.
Newbies to the system. They don't know the rules.
Yeah, but it's fair to sort of just give them a prod, give them a reminder.
Of course, you can talk in a tactical timeout. You cannot talk in a technical pause. That is the clear distinction, and it's one of those where everyone's just got to sit there and marinate in their own thoughts for a brief period of time until the rehost gets underway. Obviously, SSG, they have that same not issue, but sort of rule to live by as well, where they cannot communicate, and they've just got to lock in and figure out how they're going to try and move forward. I would argue, at this point, the technical pause probably doing SSG a little bit of good. Probably.
They need a sort of reset. They need to pull themselves a bit back together. As we said, what is going wrong here is the fundamentals. And that is when we talk about map pool, when we talk about experience, when we talk about whatever, it's an old reliable. It's something that throughout any tier of Siege, you'll have a club, you'll have an Oregon. That's the bare minimum of this game. And regardless of who you go up against, you can still make it work. And if you nail the fundamentals, you'll put rounds over the line. You'll put results together. That's sort of what's happening, what's coming together for them now. Just helping them get back into the game, into the lobby. We'll be back in, obviously, very shortly. But again, it's something where SSG, for how confident they were on the first map, each round loss on this is probably going to feel worse than round losses against a lot of other teams because of how dominant they were in the first map.
Yeah, and there's that expectation going into this game that SSG come away with the win.
Yeah.
That is the overarching expectation. And I think that a lot of people watching at home will be thinking that. There will be some Cruelty fans out there that, you know, are excited to watch their team, you know, play and see what they're able to do. But the meat and bones of it is that SSG come into this and they're the expected winners. So when things stop going their way or don't even start going their way, it can be a little bit difficult to get that over the line. First map nerves from Cruelty on Bank. You know, you wonder if we'd, you know, sit here and we had the time to sit here and play, you know, a load of different maps tonight for Cruelty, how they perform going back onto Bank after seeing a little bit of success over on Clubhouse. You just never know. One thing I do know is that the third map of Border, while it was looking extremely unlikely at the end of Bank, it isn't looking a million miles away right now. 3-1 up for Cruelty on Clubhouse. Still very much in the midpoint, but with some of the errors and stuff that we're finding SSG, you know, not necessarily making, but just finding themselves in these dodgy situations, you start thinking to yourself, if this snowballs a little bit, it could be a bit of a problem.
I said, you know, they want 4. If they get 5, it'll still probably go all the way. But we could start looking at Border. Now, Border, I'm going to be honest, I'll still put the bank down for SSG. I think they're a great Border team. I think it plays into them very well. I think it plays against what's going wrong on this map very well as well. It's a map that doesn't have a heavy reliance on sort of fundamentals. You're throwing yourself into engagements and hoping you're threading the needle and being one step ahead. They are great at that. And that is what they did very, very well on Bank. That was their sort of difference maker. But getting there. That's the point. That's the sort of meat of it. You're looking at upper bracket, lower bracket. You're looking at, regardless of whether you win or lose, making the biggest possible statement here.
Well, we are back into the game. Rejoining here at round number 5. We have, of course, just seen the basement, so that means we'll be going back upstairs to gym and bedroom. Of course, when we saw this site previously, it was very much an across clear with a bit of a hopping from a blitz through into gym. The blitz, however, fell for damage, and it didn't all go to plan. It was a bit of a scramble in the end for SSG to really gain any significant control. There was a bit of play going downstairs, really trying to root out. I think it was the Legion that was playing down there. Let's see if they're able to. I mean, that's a hell of a lineup, isn't it?
I like that it's a lineup with the clouds as well.
Well, they don't move, of course.
Yeah, clouds don't move. They stay still, and it hit, I'm assuming, an electric wall.
No, surely not.
Sure. Did it miss? Did the lineup just miss?
Did he throw it?
Yeah, we saw him.
Well, he's on his drone. We don't know.
We saw him throw it. It must be electric.
Yeah, he did. Bandit tricked it. Unbelievable. Maybe that's why you don't throw a lineup from the clouds.
Maybe that's why you don't do the lineup from the clouds. Too much trust in it. Is it fundamentals? I don't know. Let's see how the round goes before we start to piece those together. I wouldn't say so. Forest putting the pressure. Now, when you try and do this clear across the top, what you're looking at is the cutoff point, which is construction. You open up Logi Hatch, you open up this wall, so it means that any players that are sticking around a little bit longer than they should be on towards CCTV and Cash will get caught as soon as they try and pass that terrain. There's nothing comfortable for them. That is the player they're pinging out on top rafters. How long is too long? Well, that's actually down to the pressure SSG can put down. As long as they feel comfortable, they can sit there. It has to be a problem that's removed. And look at all 5 players of SSG trying to encircle this position. There's one on the top red. Toski's on his cam here holding on. The wall is being breached, but a minute later, than it should be. Finally, they can try and force out this player. They win the first onto the engagement of the breach. Ivan's caught. The blinds come. Toski's caught as well, just sprinting.
So much better from SSG. Look at the synergy there. You've got the kill coming in from Fultz onto Ivan. You've got Tusky going down. There was stuns coming in. There was a player pushing him at the right moment. You've got that pressure coming in from Breach. Yes, Fultz has won his one there, and that's what's opened the round up. But it's the immediate teamwork that comes off the back of it. The only problem that I can foresee right now is that they've got 40 seconds to try and get this job done. Fortunately for SSG, there are no smokes left. There is also no C4. So there is a very good chance that they're able to get this over the line, but they need to trade out these numbers.
J90 does stop Pyrox before he starts threading multiple kills together. He was the last player on the back end as Iconic makes an approach up main. Now the kit is going to be trying forced in here onto Jim, but 20 seconds for us. He's got to get off that last Rotero drone and try and get himself inside the fight. The single player behind the chassis is protected by one of those. The swing of Mutombo gets one to his pistol for the next. They have to change window. Roby's able to get himself in the position 1 versus 2. The kit is cold. 3 seconds. They find the fight, J90. He was quiet a bit before this point, but loud as anything when you need him.
That really came down to the wire there. SSG will be lost without J90 in that round. Having the foresight, having the initiative to push through and to pick up those final 2 kills. Again, it came down to being scrappy. I commented, the only problem I can foresee is there's 40 seconds left. There's no denial, but the positioning isn't great. And on the flip side, the positioning of the players from Cruelty was fantastic. They were exactly where they needed to be. Awkward, horrible positions that take a bit of rooting out.
Yep.
Mutombo picking up a kill as he was full white flashed obviously helps matters, but it was still a very close fought round, and a round that SSG only narrowly managed to clinch. There is a chance for them to bring this 3-3.
And the chance is going to play out on bar stage. Of all sites, now you probably see this a very low amount. There's sort of 2 ways, I'm going to say it, of attacking, of getting control. The most standard, as you'll see, is a sort of southwest to northeast, the right to the left of your screen right now, where you'll get up to construction, control of the hatch, force them behind the big brick wall in the middle, and try and tuck the plant on the stage itself. But you need construction, because that's the verticality that, as you see, perfectly lines up. It's where that castle door is and what they're trying to stop. They keep the angles and they make things very aggressive, and you utilize that lovely brick wall down in the middle for all of the cover. That is the default take that you'll get a lot of teams do. Now, SSG often don't play the defaults, so the other is going to be a little bit of a cook round on towards the kitchen side, where the hold is. But this feels, so far, par for the course.
Yeah, you're going to need to take vert regardless of what you do because of how many vertical options there are onto the site. It's not a very popular site. It did have its moment in the sun, and it was mainly down to things like Maestro Evil Eyes and things like that that were able to, you know, really give you that information and enable you to play off-site. Because the thing about bar stage, you can't really play on the site. You've got to play off-site. Then things like Brava come in and Evil Eye cameras become less effective, and there's all sorts of little tiny meta shifts. I still don't think it's up there at the moment, mainly because the fact that you can't play in the site, you have to play off it, and once you've lost that vertical, then you are going to struggle. So it should, for the attackers, be as simple as taking the top floor and then working down. Obviously, SSG, they're going a bit belt and braces here, and we can see that demonstrated with the air jabs that are going out there from Ash, and he really isn't taking any chances.
I mean, they don't want to, because where they've fallen apart has been on the fundamentals, has been on these sort of, hey, this is an easy problem, and it's turning into a bigger and bigger problem. Now they're putting pressure onto the back end to draw them away. As I said, this is the territory that they want. Ashen almost catches Rovi on the swing round, but you know, he's playing a very dangerous position. This is them stacked up, just ensuring nobody is ready to try and stop it. But there needs to be something else that works alongside it. Fultz finds Pyrox. Gets the first kill. Iconic finds just a free take, looks for the next, and he went for the knife, but the cover was there, and the cover also shot him in the face. Iconic goes down. J90, he's killing everybody out here.
Well, you know, friend or foe? Do we put him at 6-0 now? I don't know. I think Iconic had the call, and the information was great. It just wasn't in the right spot. Easy pick up there for Forrest as he catches Ivan just on a little bit of a rotation, but Mutombo there with the immediate trade. 40 seconds left, and, well, not really much to do as Ashen is there to collect. Shuts Mutombo down. SSG salvage a 3-3, and I think it's fair to say it was a salvage because it didn't look good at the start. There were a lot of fundamentals that were at question, and I don't think that SSG are going to be going off that half of Clubhouse thinking, yeah, there's nothing wrong with our attacks on Club.
Take out J9O, and it's 4-2. And that's the sort of split of it. That round came down to a second and a half. And, you know, it could have been anyone else in that position. They might not have. They likely wouldn't have had the same drive and sort of forethought in the chaos together. Since the rehost, he's gone 5-0. He's been able to get himself to a form. Before the rehost, he was, 1-3?
Yeah.
I think it was. And you're sort of looking at this change of pace for a player and how necessary he is for this team.
This could be a game that you might not realize there was a rehost if you only looked at J9O's score.
Yeah.
And you were like, okay, we're in round 7 and he's 5-0. He's doing great. That's not the full picture because he didn't have the most fantastic start. But again, he's there when it matters the most. 6-4 right now, +2. 4K in the previous round. He really is that big impact player.
He was 1-4 before the sort of rehost. And, you know, and again, 4K in the previous round, the round where there was a second and a half, as you said.
Yeah.
And it would have been a Cruelty round based on the positioning, based on the programming. That's a worry for SSG. That's something that, you know, against Cruelty, you shouldn't be in those sort of do or die positions. The Echo drone is just leading Forest a bit further forward. They have the pre-placed C4 tucked underneath, ready for anyone that might try and make an approach onto dirt.
Ready for the blitz.
Yeah.
Ready and in anticipation of what is to come. Seems as though SSG have done the homework if they're committing a pre-placed. I mean, obviously you can go and pick it up, but you're not putting it there to pick it back up again. You're putting it there with the intention of boom, 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 and taking out that blitz as it rushes on through. SSG defending downstairs in the basement, not wanting to mess about with any sort of roam. You look at the lineup that they're bringing and you're thinking, these boys are settled in. These guys are more than happy to dig in. We've got the deployable shield, we've got the Echo, we've got the smoke, we've got the Warden, tons of C4s. Let's see what you've got, Cruelty. You can have the map. You've really got to make something happen here.
Well, it doesn't look like there's an impact directly trying to stop this and trick against it. They've done some of the opener, and they're not going to give him the option. So, save the break until slightly later. They've got their eyes on the close wall. They're just getting it structured. That gives the Blitz a bit of a run round corner if he comes down main, and they have control of the swing round from the back end of Pipes and Moto. They can sort of charge their way through the back end, but where are they going to try and piece the actual plant together? Because the longer, we still have 3 smoke canisters. We've got a bit of a Kiba, a C4 at least in pocket as well. There's timing utility for them to perfectly stop that default take, that default plant. They're going to have to try and force themselves somewhere a little bit off the piste.
It's weird to see the stack up here on main stairs. Fultz has got a good part of information for that. We've got Rovi, we've got the Blitz. Fultz is likely going to catch this and immediately sends out the stun. Can he keep the Yokai alive, or is it not even going to matter? Blitz storms through Ash Rush spot and immediately starts trying to get that plant down, but the Yokai stun is there, the information available, and Ashen, he's there to take Ivan down. The initial prong, the initial poke from Cruelty has fallen short, and Matumbo has gone on a mission himself, but he misses his shots! Those an iconic pick up, what a piece! As a Blitz, that's criminal, you've got to be collecting those!
Okay. I mean, that's sort of what I was talking about there, right? Now, the Echo being in the position to stop that. They wanted to just reverse the shield, play the plant, but to be honest, with the smokes, it wouldn't have worked anyway. That's the sort of point I was making. You take the Echo out, and you're still going to have them try and plant. It's a known strat. The smoke canister goes along, and they have to pull off anyway. But you didn't have any other options at that point, whether it was just because they spent so long sort of cooking that approach. It's an awkward big beast to get into. I'm, not entirely sure what the pressure was from Blue, if any, but as you said before, there was a lot that was stacked up around that main hatch. I don't know what the Moto pressure was like, but the Blitz was suddenly the first in the door, so they were obviously able to just quickly swing their way around and get there. Churchwall was still locked as far as I could tell, and electrocuted. Just not, unfortunately, enough left for a plan B or C there for Cruelty to truly operate with.
Where was the Blue presence?
Yeah.
You could have easily dealt with the Echo player. I think it was Fultz. You could have easily dealt with him if you'd have had someone pushing down blue and storming that. Obviously, you will have someone from SSG there to deal with, but again, it takes a gun away. It's a distraction. There's a reason you've got to push from 2 or at least 3 sides when attacking into the basement, and it's because you need guns looking in opposite directions. You can't just announce that you're going for a main stairs push and an Ash rush spot and expect to get away with it. It really doesn't work like that. Round number 8, it sees us go to a different site. We are going upstairs to CCTV and Cash, and quite similar to the way it was held by Cruelty. We have the Azami in the catwalk. The difference being there is no Wamai this time. There is no Wamai because there is almost no need. It's a blitz that you're going up against, not a Capitao. And I imagine that Mutombo is going to be trying to clear out that garage.
Quickly looking for the pings on the player, the pressure on towards Jacuzzi on the back end. Just again, you sort of do an across-the-top take. Now, as you said, with the utilization of the blitz, you can really put some pressure up the rafters. It is so powerful in that position, and obviously usually led by the Monty, but if you don't feel confident about what is threaded around it, if you don't think you've got sort of the Capitao or you're putting all the faith in the Zoth to put the pressure on the top, things go away. So instead, try a little bit more of a slender take. Go over to Jacuzzi, draw some attention here on the construction side itself. See if you can put the pressure onto the single, because that allows Toski to force the bandit further away. They're going for the trick, and it does catch it because it was just in the middle.
Pretty poor that. There's a fear and an attempt to stop that bandit trick from going down, but it was not successful. It's going to be -1 exothermic, and with 1 left, Tusky is left with but 1 choice. He must now open the construction wall, and he will do so under the cover of the Thatcher EMP. That one, as we can see from the outlines, is going to go down without a hitch, but not before Fultz jumps himself out. He fancies a little bit of an alfresco option there and is able to take the head off Robbie.
I mean, Mutombo didn't actually see the player rotate round because the gun covered it, and that time J9O had his own gun that was more than happy to cover Mutombo in bullets. Toski trying to find their way in. They've only got the single breach. Another smoke canister will slow them down. Another 10 seconds as Fultz is more than happy to rotate his way back round. He's going to be the surprise factor behind the team. Straight past an unwatched drone with 2 players dead. If this nets a surprise kill, that is truly, truly terrible for them. Sees 1, there's 2. And you'll be wondering why was one of the 2 dead players not watching the flank drone.
Robbie was on a drone. He just wasn't on the right one. It's Mutombo. He isn't on anything. He's just been on Thatcher's POV this whole time. And okay, maybe he's trying to shot call, maybe he's trying to make something happen, but you can't have a drone and not watch it. Fultz even flicked onto it and saw that it wasn't lit. So, I mean, even if it was lit, it's criminal that he was able to pick up a couple of kills off the back of it. You saw the game sense from him as well. He saw the drone. He was like, nah, I'm not going to shoot it, because if I shoot it, they know I'm there.
Yep.
If it's not being watched, I can sneak round. If it is being watched, I've got a 50-50 gunfight. Either way, I'm taking it.
We talk about fundamentals. We talk about where it went wrong for SSG. It's going wrong here for Cruelty. Not watching that flank drone. I mean, that's one that should be on any map. But also the struggle on the breach itself. They put the exothermic right in the middle. You've got a Thatcher. When you've got a Thatcher and you've got the ability to go for the breaches, you got the Zoth to try and stop it as well. I mean, it's rough, but it is watching and piecing together maths and holds and trying to hold thing against it. It was being well tricked as well. The bandit was more than ready to get it, but it's the confidence of the juggle. Here, the confidence of the team talk. 4 rounds in a row now SSG have been able to take. Will they ride this all the way till the end at this point and match at least what was 6 rounds in a row on the first map?
There's a chance here for SSG. There really is. You get the feeling that momentum is firmly with them right now. That tactical timeout may do something to shift that, as Cruelty just had a minute for themselves to figure out how they would like to proceed before SSG get themselves onto a map point. Obviously, they've got a good idea of where they will be headed here. There's only 1 of 2 choices for it to be. Now going to be upstairs into gym and bedroom. A little bit of a 6-pick coming out here as well. We can see a Dokubi being swapped out, so maybe they did think it was downstairs, but they are going to be switching a couple of things up nonetheless. I kind of like the pick onto the Brava, although as I say that, it gets 6 picked onto a Blitz, so maybe I didn't like the Brava pick.
5 seconds.
One of the reasons that I liked it was I was looking at the Malusi and I was thinking, yeah, could be a little bit of something to hack. You've got the mute jammers there as well. You've not got a wealth of electronics to be getting through, but you've got a bulletproof and a couple of things, but it is going to be switched out for a Blitz. For all that we've spoken about shields as well, Emmy, we haven't seen blitzes have that level of impact yet. And as I said, maybe we're waiting for, you know, air quotes, better players to get on these blitzes and show us what they've got. But at the moment, it maybe isn't quite there yet.
I think it's always one of those things as well, is we can look at things and go, how's this going to work? How is this going to formulate League towards online? But then you get into the game and sometimes it just plays different. It just handles different. You don't really know what the strat book is of teams until you get to see it in operation. And you also don't know the full taste. SSG is a team that even at the most, that run at SI, they played a map that they had not played forever under the sole guise of, oh yeah, we were saving it for this. You don't know what they're saving it for. Either way, they've got at least one shield on the board here. Iconic on the roll of the Clash. Will it have the order of operations? Will it slow them down? Because at this point, I'm sort of looking at this approach and thinking, okay, where's the first taste coming from here, Cruelty?
Bit of time spent so far, and we've spent a lot of it on the balcony. Finally, we get ourselves in as Tusky is able to storm on through, but he doesn't know which way to look. Matumbo picks up one, but the trade is fierce. We see a little bit of sanity coming there from Forest inside the bathroom. The castle barricade was prepped, and he's able to find himself one, make it 2. Look at him go. Potential here for Forest to pick himself up 4 kills. Can he land the final shot? No. Ivan shuts him down there. SMG-12 doing the business. Nearly a clip for Forest. Nearly a second clip for Forest. You got one over on Bank as well.
I mean, it was as close as you like. And I think, you know, as I said, at that time they were weighing things up. They were working out where they wanted to do the push from. They'd utilized some of the approach, open what they needed. And as you said, the Blitz was in a position to try and smash and grab. They partially sent it in towards the site, towards bedroom. Couldn't get anyone close enough for the fight. Didn't have the cover from the Zephyr as well because the bed was in the way. Had to then swap back round to the player behind that did get a C4 off, but the trade game was just in their favor. However, Forest getting one. Snappy. Great. A pre-placed and prepped castle. It's a play, and it puts them in a 2 versus 1. The next engagement being the 1 versus 1 in that situation, Forest is going to swing that angle shooting. Whatever happens. And you know, you're caught up in a rush. All of those kills happened within 10 seconds.
Yeah. 10 seconds left before insertion.
But it almost cost
the thing is, Forest played it exceptionally well, and Cruelty played it well as well, because they were trading off the back of one another.
Yep.
They were working that man advantage down. And yes, if you were going to be a purist about it and say, well, was that last kill a proper trade because it did come a little bit later, the Dogby had no choice. Ivan, he had to push that.
Had to push.
You can't let Forest reload, re-establish, take a breath, information to get exchanged. You haven't got the luxury of time, so a great effort from both. And Cruelty, they only trail by 1 now.
Forest almost won it as well. Forest had the first pre-fire, the first engagement. Jane, I know. Oh, he is about to maybe catch a man that's droning. No, didn't know Pyrox was tucked with a bit of safety. He's just going to throw the flash up so he can rotate to a bit more safety. But now, as they sort of realize just how stretched the hold might be, there's the approach onto Dirt. You talked about it before. Where was the pressure from the back end? Where was the plan B? This might be it.
I'm surprised to see Dirt soft and all reinforcements used. I'm not sure where they've prioritised. They've obviously done some reinforcing upstairs instead and are looking to try and hold this with a mute jammer and a shotgun played pretty close, but Forest has already taken a ton of damage. Matumbo straight in there, not wasting any time. The roam was too heavy and too deep here from SSG, and they have been punished for it greatly. It's shaping up to be a flawless here as the diffuser is confirmed. Ashen and Fultz, they've got a long job ahead of them here.
2 rounds in a row, and there's 2 kills for Robbie and a flawless. What a timeout. This has turned into what a conversation. Let's stop playing this slow game. Let's stop playing all this respect in towards them. Let's put this pressure in hot, heavy, and fast. Both teams obviously have used their timeout. They cannot get themselves back into a conversation. We do have a tech pause, unfortunately, at this moment in time. But still, these 2 rounds, how they've been threaded, how quick that was, how aggressive, the intel that was coming through. They knew exactly about the player on the other side of the soft, and they weren't just shot by the player inside dirt, but someone else already putting pressure onto blue. Clever reads, clever bits of momentum, clever conversations. This might not be what's happened. I might be making this up because it's funny. But imagine if when they celebrated, they kicked the computer and turned it off.
Stranger things have happened.
Stranger things have happened.
And sometimes that's why the computers are on the desk or in a different position, just with a slightly longer wire, because if you get a bit fruity, if you get a bit antsy,
Get a bit excited.
Feet, then you never know.
I think they might be... Yeah, it's taken out his sound card. I think they're swapping everything over.
I'm vibing with the music.
This could be. Hello. Hello, mate.
Oh, hey.
You right?
How you doing? You're live on Twitch.
You want your moment? Moment in the sun?
He wanted his moment.
Take it. Mike that lad up. I like the lunchbox.
What's in the lunchbox?
Something is 100% in that lunchbox.
I felt like it was bananas or something, because that's what all the players love, isn't it?
Yeah, but I don't know. I think it will be something funnier.
Well, it's always there, isn't it? Fultz always brings it.
Yeah. Secrets.
Top secrets.
Top secrets.
This is a good time for SSG to go through and to read the strat book, isn't it? They can figure out just exactly what they want to do, and they have, obviously, the Clubhouse pieces of paper.
Yeah.
The 12 pieces of 8 that make up Clubhouse.
Okay, it entirely doesn't say this, but imagine if you looked at them and it was just like call-outs for rooms, but like the basic default ones, like not even specific team call-outs, and it was just like help.
Garage.
Yeah.
This place is called
CCTV.
Garage. Yeah.
And it's not like specific calls or microcalls, it's just armory.
Yeah, the whole thing is armory.
Yeah. It doesn't say that. But it would be so funny if it did.
But imagine you'd just be playing and you'd be like, all right, I've just done this one sec. Yeah, he's in Garage.
Yeah, he's in
Garage. One sec, on the wrong page. Shh. Switch page. Garage, yeah.
He's in Garage, yeah.
Garage. In Garage, mate. Oh, he's moved. Oh, he's got you.
Oh god,
He's got you.
I've lost my middle floor.
Yo, have you got a middle floor I can borrow?
He's in dining. Oh no, this is chalet ground floor. Whoops. Oh, I got the wrong one. Right. Do you like the spooky big drone?
What, the one on the wall?
Yeah. It's like a lion, right?
Yeah, no, it's a dragon.
The Manchester Dragon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think. Well, it's the same as the backgrounds, isn't it?
Yeah.
The in-game background.
Dragon is like.
Dragon.
Yeah, I see Great Britain Dragon. I get it. King Arthur, King George.
It's kind of like a Chinese vibe, though. It feels like that kind of artwork. Like in Chinatown in Manchester, you get those. You have those kind of like dragons.
Again, straight in on the. You can get this in game. This is a purchasable.
I think I've got it.
I think I've got it. Do you know how I got it?
How'd you get it?
By getting rid of skins I didn't like on the marketplace.
Ooh, we do love a bit of marketplace.
Yeah, I got on the beta.
Are you excited for the marketplace to be open to everybody at the start of the next season?
I love commerce.
I love fulfilling 120s.
Fulfilling 120s.
Anyone that knows what I mean when I'm saying fulfilling 120s is a real one.
Right. I think that's a very specific thing.
It's not, because the minimum sell price is 120.
No, I know.
So you fulfill 120s by refreshing what you have, seeing who has a purchase order for it, and then you go, okay, yeah, I don't want that, bang, 120.
Oh, right, okay.
So yeah. I fulfill orders.
Anyway, I got it. I'm trying to think of what other British animals, like a beagle hound.
A beagle hound?
Yeah, is that British?
I think it's a dog.
I know it's a dog.
Well, yeah, I'm glad, yeah.
Yeah, like a traditional British animal.
It looks as though we have replaced an entire PC in record time. I don't think that we rebuilt it. I think that we just literally picked PC up from somewhere else. Yeah. Probably the A stream, because Parley's mid-game, and they're just going, hang on a minute, Parley.
Hang on.
We're just going to have this from you.
I don't think you realise.
Cruelty need it on the other side. Ivan, he's struggling at the minute. and we need a PC change.
Palu's
so
like, I understand.
we're just going to lock this straight in.
I get it.
And hopefully we can get everybody joining very shortly. We do already have SSG in the lobby. I can see that over on my right. And we have slowly but surely starting to get the Cruelty members in as well. So a new PC was the order.
We've actually had to do this with Parker before.
Oh, yeah?
Well, yeah, mid-map, we've just got to replace Parker with another Parker.
Just because you can get someone else in.
Yeah, well, no, you replace him with another Parker. So, like, you kick the Parker and it's like, oh, I've broken this one.
Get a new one.
Pick him up, swap him out.
Yeah.
Sit the new one down. Plug him back in.
Yeah. Wind it up.
Wind it up. He's good
and then
to
it's
go.
like a monkey with a syllable.
Yeah, that's Parker. Yeah, we'll be back in very shortly. We'll be finding ourselves. If you are unaware, we are currently 5 apiece. SSG had a good run in the middle, but then since we had a timeout from the side of Cruelty, they've been able to pick up 2 rounds in a row. Both of them rushes. One in gym that came down to a 1 versus 1. One in basement that was a flawless attack on towards Armory. And I wonder if SSG are going to prepare themselves a little bit more for that.
Would you like a fun fact?
Always.
Of the opening kills that SSG have got this map, Fultz has all but 1. He has 4, and Ashen has 1. The next question is a huge... What I've just said is a huge clue as to the next question.
Okay.
Do you think every round that the opening kill has got has been converted into a round win? So if SSG get the opening kill, then they get the round
I'm
win.
going to answer it wrong and say yes.
It is yes.
Whoa, I answered it right.
Because SSG have got 5 opening picks, and they have got 5 rounds.
Man.
On the flip side, Cruelty, they have also got 5 opening picks. It isn't, I mean, it's still impressive, but there's no one single person that's doing it a lot. It's been Mutombo for the past couple, Pyrox had a little bit earlier on, Rovi. But the opening pick is huge in this matchup. Whichever team gets it, typically, has gone on to win the round. So let's keep an eye and see if that can give us any indication as to how these couple of rounds are going to go. Back down to the basement for SSG. It is a revisit. They lost the round prior here to a rush.
They did.
Now let's see if they are able to correct that wrong.
Theoretically, they will have more of a presence downstairs. Now, we obviously don't have the blitz. There's potential, but this is more of a cook it. You know what I see when I look on the left, apart from maybe missing a bit of destruction, is that Ossa coming down the main stairs, going in the tuck that they tried with the blitz beforehand. But with the Ossa, you get a little bit more of a sturdy to it. Not sturdy enough to stop a smoke canister or a C4 that might swing your way, but otherwise enough to give you a bit of a read-through. There is potentially going to be a little bit more solid around bottom of dirt. Give themselves a read-through. There's one pre-placed C4 somewhere out there.
I want to know where it is, do you?
No.
I'd love to know where Forrest is placed.
I want a surprise. I like surprises.
I think if there's anyone that would know, it would be our observer. Our observers don't miss anything.
Which observer do we have?
We have Easy.
Oh, easy peasy.
He doesn't miss anything.
Doesn't miss anything. Hasn't missed a thing since he was born in 1976. Put
76.
that. Please update his Liquipedia.
Goodness.
This is real information I'm giving you. Pyrox. Going for the quick clear over the top. This is, as I said, a very different approach, a very different lineup. Now, when they were here on a slower and steady approach before, our complaints were not enough ready for a plan B. Church wall still locked. They weren't really putting the pressure elsewhere. Here with the Thatcher, they should be able to force anyone out that's tucked on that far side. They don't get it because of the my disc. A very clever little prediction there from Ashen. But this mirror window should probably fall as they burn out the other discs.
Well, we saw where the pre-placed was. It sort of opens an angle that the attackers are going to open anyway, and you just get an option to do it yourself as a defender with the chance of picking up a kill. The mirror window has been nullified, but Fultz is able to still make something of it. Now, this looks like it's getting ready for a bit of a hot and heavy drop there as Mutombo, he gets his way down. Ashen full white flash there as the Wamai. The shield will be placed, and the plank can start to go down behind it. Ooh. The Toxic Babe is going to push him out of position, though. Mutombo, he takes a ton of damage. It's chip for chip so far, but J9O, he cements the first kill. Rovi with the trade, and the plant is now going down.
They have to charge him. They lost the controller pipes, and there's the charge. Ashen, they weren't watching keenly enough from the side. He screamed all the way up, and they get the trade out, but the kit, It was a sliver away from being planted. They've bought so much time, and J9O has maybe the most important piece of utility left at this point. The only thing that can try and long-arm stop, but they're concerned. Concerned about what might be coming around the back of them, and I'm curious, where is that one player from the side of Cruelty we haven't seen? There they are. Rovi, he's trying to find his way. He's got to just dash across and hope he can get there in time. He does. Now as he sticks the kit, they've got to try and get J9O closer. There's that C4 I talked about, and there's the catch. But it's from Forrest on the split. J9O! Bottom to top, the two players that have rocked today have held on for the remaining roster at this point. The Ash of Pyrox has to try and go deep. So at this point, SSG go further away. And the round goes their way.
J9O, again, how many times is he going to pull SSG through a round and potentially through a map, through a game? His performance on Bank cannot be understated.
No.
What he's been able to achieve here on Clubhouse cannot be understated. Consistently picking up multi-kills, but it's not just the fashion of the multi-kill. It's the way that he gets it. It's his positioning. Look at how he managed that. He allowed the player to cross because he knew he couldn't hold bottom main stairs at the same time. There was already someone there and there was a keeper barricade there. It would have been suicide. Instead, you've just got to pick your moment, get a little bit lucky with your timing, and know that Forrest has got you back. SSG put himself onto a map and series point.
So close for Cruelty, though, and they know that just as well. Now, obviously, SSG, they opted to go there. That was the site that they wanted to win, and they had pretty free reign of every single site at that point.
Bomb located by attackers.
Well, they've only won a couple on the defense. They've won Church and Arsenal, and they've won CCTV Cash.
Yep.
So they didn't really have too many options. Gym and Bedroom was a bit of a blowout, and I don't think that they were ready for the sort of speed and aggression that Cruelty were wanting to bring on that map. So it was a bit of a gamble to go back down after already losing it, but they'd obviously corrected themselves.
Is to defuse a bomb.
And now they're going to go up to CCTV and Cash and see if they can just lock this thing out in regulation.
Ashen has the long range angle. Ready for somebody to try and drift their way through, but they're not giving them the fight as of yet. And well, they know about the player up top. I don't think they fully knew about Ashen below, but he's not going to stick around and find out with his face. Instead, rotates his way all the way back and all the way up. It's the long route through, but it's the safe one. Where is this first engagement going to go?
Well, Pyrox is going to give himself an option to drop the Logi hatch. He can now drone that and figure out just exactly what's going on. Maybe leave a little flank drone for someone not to watch later on into the round, as has been a previous occurrence here from Cruelty. Rovi, he's just waiting for the all clear there on the drone to push his way through. He's going to want to try and open up that nice long line of sight. The mirror window there likely will get popped if it isn't being kept safe, and it looks as though it is being kept relatively safe there. A couple of impacts from above. There are some impacts on the Azami, but Iconic won't give up his position over inside a garage to assist that impact trick.
Then I know.
Hello?
Goodbye. Ivan had the cut from underneath, knew roughly where he was playing, and then knew very precisely where he was. Pyrox gets one as well. Suddenly, the 5 versus 3, but we've seen this fall away from them before. They've got to see if they can just try and keep this momentum. The smoke canister a step too far, and that allows him to stay tucked on the inside of the door. Ashton doing the rotate he made once before. This time it's checked. He's happy to check Ivan right out. They have the pings on one external player, and there's the catch looking the wrong way. In fact, no, looking the right way because Iconic got the kill anyway. Matumbo gets one. It's a 3 versus 1 inside the site. Iconic, the recent re-addition to a roster he helped bring to their strongest suit, dives all the way, but he's a second and a step too late. Finds one. Wants to try and isolate the next, but we are going to overtime.
It almost felt unavoidable. The way that those first couple of kills came in for Cruelty, you sort of look at it and you go, God, we're going overtime, aren't we? It is just written in the stars that SSG are going to dominate map 1, and then map 2 is going to be an absolute barn burner.
It could have been their lockout here. It could have been a map where, you know, if you think about that round just before, where if it wasn't for J9O, you think about one of the other rounds that J9O has clutched. This should be and could be very easily Cruelty's map right now. And yet, here we are in overtime. Funneling, spiraling, and falling our way further and further. Will they do it? Becomes this question. We knew they would put in a better performance, but one like this, Ollie.
I think that was the first time that we saw the opening pick actually go the other way as well. J9O picks the opener, and then Cruelty come away with the round. So it kind of books the trend a little bit. Cruelty fought a little bit better from behind there, but I think they just had the positional advantage on SSG, and SSG maybe a little bit too stuck in what they were trying to do. I know Ashen was trying to find some success downstairs on the dock, which he eventually did, but it wasn't something that worked right off the bat. Maybe one of the problems here is that SSG have started things off on the defense. That hasn't been the best side for them. It's been 3-3 splits throughout, but I look at some of their defense rounds and I think it has been a bit shaky.
A little bit of damage, which sort of gives a bad statement to Ashen. We know you're here. Ivan knows Forrest is there. There was a run out, I think. We saw for a split second a player is detected outside. And Ivan, he had the detection meter turned all the way up to 11. Forrest is gone. A risky moment. Because, yeah, it's been 3-3 halves, but you're offered a little bit more, and they try to shake things up. Risks can come with rewards, can also come with punishments. It did buy Ashen the ability to slip their way out of that. They didn't get the full read on what was going on, but with the focus on towards the site itself, Toski playing that support role, 0-7, but if he can get in and get the kit down, I don't think much of it.
Cruelty needs to be trying to press this advantage now. They've managed to take Forrest out nice and early. That's the Azami gone. Where's the next layer of pressure coming in? Ivan has seen that success. Going to be able to open up that wall along with Prox and see if there's anything that they can try and find in there. Fultz dug into the showers. He's got so much to watch here, and he is going to need a bit of support. He's got the player outside of Jacuzzi make that too as another one drops in. And of course the window players to boot as well. Tusky is going to pick up his first kill since the rehost there as Fultz will fall inside of the showers. Matumbo as well, 4 versus 1. J9O, you've had a live series, but even this is a bridge too far.
One round separates Cruelty from taking their first map on the international stage here, from where we were back in Bank to where we were now. I said it at the time, Ollie, I said the hardest map you'll play is your first. Cruelty, as they can show you, agree with that. Now, if we do get there, because we aren't there yet, you do still worry about border. SSG, regardless of how this goes, they're probably kind of calm about it. They're probably still in control. They think, you know, we want to win this in 2. They'll be fighting for it, but if they get to 3, they're still pretty confident.
Well, it's the age-old win your map and win the decider.
Yeah.
It just so happens that Clubhouse was a map that SSG chose it. So they've won their opponent's map, but they can still win the decider if they choose to. So we will see how it goes. It's been a while since we've seen SSG on the attack. They're going to be attacking down into Church and Arsenal. Successful here way back in round number 1, which I'm going to be honest with you, was nearly an hour ago now. Woo! That's how long this game has been. They were unsuccessful in it later on in round number 4.
5 seconds left before.
But obviously, with the fact that this has been a lengthy game, we've had a couple of tech issues thrown into that mixture as well. This has been a bit of a war.
I mean, it truly has. Obviously, all the players have set themselves in. There's not many that have broken themselves past the divide. We talk about the J9O factor multiple times. He's got, I think technically he's 11-8 if you include the rehost. Still very impressive as a split. The others, I am a million miles from doing the math on, but with Pyrox putting himself a bit of a distance as well, he was that star player, couldn't operate on Bank, is operating here. And those two seem to be the driving force, but otherwise people are pretty much par for a course apart from maybe Toski.
Pyrox is doing much better than you expect, actually. He's 17-9 right now.
Woo!
So he's +8.
He's the best player in the lobby right now.
Well, without a doubt, and he's also been consistently the best player over the course of the league as well for them.
Yep.
He was up there, if you extrapolated his kills out, he was in and amongst the top players inside of Siege for the amount of kills he was getting per round. To get over 1 KPR, 1 kill per round, is a pretty incredible statistic inside of Siege, but he was there.
Pyrox is one of those players where if he can keep up the consistency, you can see people wanting him on other rosters. You could see people trying to make big motions. to get him. He is an exceptionally talented gunner, and him delivering it now is a great game because we talk about how exceptionally talented J9O is and what he's delivering for SSG, Cruelty. If they can get that first whiff of a fight, that first drive, it's pretty default. A C4 operating against nobody isn't quite going to get the option here. This very cautionary tale is impact tricked off, even though there were changes against it. A clash. It's more than happy to say hello. Just going to get the read. They're trying to bait and get hit by it themselves. That won't quite get them, but the impact should follow around. The Selma is caught. There's the third. But as Ivan gets suffered on the back, Forrest is inside. The Clash is going to reveal it. There's the trade out. It's all go. Drop down onto Moto. The Clash is trying to keep some control. It's Iconic in the midst of things. Rovi and Toski, all that's left. Clash was caught, and Iconic operated in the middle of it. It's 2 versus 3. Rovi's trying to buy all the support. The Clash is surviving. They don't want to give them the free fight, and there's an easy take. It's down on the back. It's just the Clash alone. I would be amazed if we find ourselves not in the 7-7 situation here. Toski is able to finally find the end of Iconic. If he'd have done that 30 seconds ago, it could have defined the round. Just misses the rotate of Ashen, who's heading up the buck to get that vertical control. The Clash can fact find for themselves. With this on their back, are they going to try the turtle? There's one in dirt that can go for the swing. There's the second ping. There's the swing. We are going all of the way.
Every round available here to find out who is going to be the winner over on Clubhouse. SSG, they played that pretty well. I like the aggression. I love Fultz playing from above with the little utility exchange, and then it was just like, oh, this isn't working. Bang, let's just hit the site.
Yep.
And you've got all of that charge. You've got to feel sorry for Thatcher. He was trying to throw the Thatcher out there so that the Clash wouldn't be able to use the zap and the electrification. It didn't quite work out. Iconic, great little ring around the Rosie. I think the Clash maybe dropped the ball a little bit, letting Iconic so deep into Church and picking up that kill, but at least SSG were able to get that one over the line. It now all comes down to this. SSG, they've opted to go into CCTV room and cash. They are 1 for 1 here so far. They've been successful in round 9, unsuccessful in round 12. A lot of pressure for Cruelty, because this is a chance at staying inside of this upper bracket.
I mean, for everything that there is ahead of them and everything there is behind, for now, there is just a one round, a one hit, a one chance. If we talk about the pride of America beforehand, beat them at their own game, hit a home run, that's all. I didn't understand the rules of baseball. That might win the game. I understand enough. That's an obvious joke before people get mad at me. 7 apiece, though. The only separation here is going to come down to Cruelty. We talk about when you are free to do bold things. This is maybe one of them right now. But it's hard to do. When you're saying it's a 7-7, there's the break onto the wall, something they entirely couldn't do before, but there's nobody to stop it or trick it.
Well, no one stop or trick, but they did put a Vulcan shield down, which is going to stop any sort of quick play coming off the back of it.
Yep.
And it gives a little bit of a breathe and a sigh of relief, because the quick play is something that Cruelty have been quite good at and really taking SSG by surprise. The Twitch drone inside of sight is causing an absolute ruckus right now, and that too will rip through a couple of those Vulcan canisters and do a little bit to stop any of that late round denial that SSG have set up for themselves.
This is where things might get a little bit risky, though, because the longer this goes on, the more that plays into SSG, not just in terms of the round, the defense, and the position, but also the experience, because a minute left in the middle of a game is a minute left in the middle of a game. A minute left of a series is a terrifying position to be in. That's when the mistakes are most likely to happen. They have to find a kill over the next 15, 20 seconds before things go away from them. Ivan is caught out. Watch firmly underneath. Fultz, he can open himself and rotate out. It's a solace. He's got the drone. He's opened the hatch, and he's made a lot of noise. They don't know where he is. They don't really have the time to properly go and find him.
Rovi is going to try and make something happen here inside of construction. Losing Ivan early isn't the end of the world because you've lost the Ash. It's the end of the world because you've lost a body. At the moment, he hasn't got much to watch, and Fultz, he's on a bit of a tear. Could this be a Fultz round? Forrest, he joins into the party as well. 2 versus 5. This is for the series, SSG. Forrest on 2 kills as well. Tusky with it all to do. 1 versus 4. Forrest will fall, but it's likely not going to be enough. The stun goes out. He finds one, but who better than J90 to finish things off there for SSG?
Cruelty gave it their best in that second map. So close and such a step back up. A very hard thing to do. Not only on your first showing on an international stage, but after your first map went so away from you. However, they could have taken this map if it weren't for J90. And that is something that SSG are already aware of, but have to be a bit more prepared for, because it won't always be Cruelty on their first major you're up against.
I think that Cruelty can hold their head high. They came into Bank, first map nerves, you can give it to him.
Yep.
To then take SSG all the way on Clubhouse, a map that every team here will know how to play, a map that every team here will be confident on. It's a good showing, and they can hold their heads high with what they've been able to achieve here. SSG, I think there's some serious VOD review to be done at the end of that one, because there were a couple of missed opportunities, there were a couple of mistakes, and they're kind of lucky to get out of this at a 2-0.
Oh yeah, it's so much closer than it should have been. There were at least 2, if not 3 rounds that J90 won for the team as well. It could have been Cruelty's game, it could have been Cruelty's map, and at the end of the day, it isn't. But that's the thing you've got to take. You've got to go back, you've got to VOD review, you've got to bring that back in. And it's the same for Cruelty to know this and study this as well. And, you know, they're not out yet. They've got a tough fight. They're not out yet.
Exactly. Cruelty, welcome to the major. First and foremost, it's been a pleasure watching you in this game. I can't wait to see what you're able to do tomorrow. SSG on the flip side, you guys know that isn't good enough. That isn't the stamp. That isn't the quality that we're expecting here inside of Manchester. It's one of the reasons why they're inside of Phase 1, let's be honest. But we know that potential is going to be there. Let's break down Clubhouse a little bit. 8-7, as we've said. Look at Pyrox.
I mean, I was so excited to watch him as a player. You didn't get that on Bank. You got so much of it on Clubhouse. Are we going to get more and more of it tomorrow? If he does that performance across 2 maps, you have a different team. You have a different series. You don't have a team that can be brushed aside. As I said, exceptional talent that is going to try their best to advertise that and show that off. At the same time, you know, on the opposite end, although statistically Fultz stepped a bit ahead of J90 in that final round, you cannot argue what was delivered. Fultz was fantastic on the entry game.
Brilliant on the entry. Did a really important job. And he does a lot of the thankless tasks as well a lot of the time, Fultz. Often find him on a shotgun on the defense. Often find him on a hard breacher on the attack. So for him to be in and around those entries, he was allowed to stretch his legs a bit today. We saw him on the Solace. We saw him getting a little bit further out there. And to give that support to J90 is priceless. Because J90, for as good as he is, he can't do it all on his own.
No.
Look at what happens when one person does on his own. We saw that on Cruelty. It doesn't quite work. You look at the side of SSG, you've got 13 kills, 12 kills, 12 kills, 11 kills. Everybody is pulling their weight there.
Still, it's the focus on, obviously, towards how the whole series played out here. And again, Pyrox, you know, he was 20-10. He gets the other map added.
MVP?
And he's 24-18. He's still MVP based on the single map and the one that entirely went away from them. Bank was obviously their selection. Nerves on a first game, and that's sort of the split. That's how things will cook. SSG, they were fantastic in the first map. There's no denying it. We complimented them all time and time again. Their ability to read opportunity and snatch it, great. They lost it a lot on Clubhouse. A lot of mistakes with fundamentals. A lot of holes that they fell into where usually they'd be able to smash right past them. And again, they'll be more aware of this than anyone, but it's escaping this first sort of 2 play days doesn't look as confident as it could have.
Well, that is going to be it for the B stream here, but I am sure you're aware there is a little game going on over on the A stream. You weren't aware? We've got G2 Liquid over on the A stream, and I've just been told it has gone into map number 3.
Oh my
Now,
word.
I know that Liquid won map number 1 of Clubhouse. However, the second map went on as we were doing this map. So, I don't know what's going on. Should we go and watch it?
I am so excited to go and watch it. G2 versus Liquid. Why didn't anybody tell me?
Let's go and watch it. We're going to throw you over to the A stream. Thanks so much for joining us on the B stream. We will be back tomorrow.